Welcome to ETN, the most European technology podcast in the
Here
world.
we go.
We are live. We are back. It is Thursday, the 22nd of January, and we got some new hats.
We have new hats. It's new hat day.
It's new hat
on
day
ETN. We love to see it. It's going to be a good day.
So usually we would have unboxed this because this was from a trade deal that we recently did with Chris Topman, founder and general partner of Notion Capital. The trade deal went down yesterday, or was it Tuesday? No, Tuesday evening. Tuesday, I think it was like 5:16. The trade deal went down. Daniel Jones, founder of Medfin, was present to mediate, to witness the trade deal. One ETN cap was traded for two of these rabbit fur. I'm not sure what you call them. What do they have a name? These things?
No, I actually have no idea.
We're going to call them
hats.
Davos hats.
Yeah, Davos hats.
Because we'll be doing some
like
Davos reactions, and if we were in Davos, I think these are the types of hats that we'd be wearing.
They're actually super warm. I'm a big fan.
I wore mine this morning on the tube.
Oh, really?
And I could tell a lot of people were jealous. A lot of people were jealous on that Hammersmith.
Were they jealous or were they, I don't know.
Well, they were looking at me.
Yeah,
So
I don't know if that's a jealousy look.
I thought
that's just
I thought that would mean that they're jealous because a lot of people were staring at me on the tube.
Yeah.
I think jealous.
Anyway,
let's go into who the lineup is. Who
the order of play today. We have a pretty stacked order of play, which is going to be good. Number one on the roster, 11:30 a.m. We have Andreas Klinger. He is the co-founder of Prototype Capital and the co-initiator of EU Inc. You probably would have seen from his LinkedIn post that went mega viral, 7,000 likes. Which is kind of nuts,
LinkedIn
actually,
as well.
Which is, pretty wild.
You kind of nerfed on LinkedIn.
Yeah. About the European Commissioner basically saying that she has accepted EU Inc. and is going to bring it into action using the 28th regime, which is super exciting. So we're going to talk to him. We have him on for, I believe, half an hour, which is going to be wicked. Then we have our good friend Anane Kapila. He is the co-founder at QFEX.
Oh, is it Q? Did you just say QFEX? Did you say the letters?
I believe it's QFEX. QFEX is the only 24/7. What is it? It's like a
online brokerage trading account.
There you go, 24/7 online brokerage trading market, which is pretty wicked. Then 12:30 p.m. We have Thijs Bukema. He is the head of data, tech, and AI at Dawn Capital. We love the people over at Dawn. We have their
they are front front and center in every single show we do, thanks to the amazing team at Dawn for our chessboard.
Indeed. Thank you very much.
We haven't battled it out yet on that thing, but maybe we will one day when we move to in person. We can have like a Dawn chess round. With guests.
We could do a Dawn chess day.
A blitz day.
A Dawn day, including
Dawn
chess.
Day.
Anyway, 1 p.m. Our penultimate guest we have. Bar Winkler. He is the co-founder and CEO at Wonderful. We've been trying to get that in the books for ages, actually, which is.
We had cool. Bar on a few weeks back, but something came up. I think he had to increase shareholder value at the last minute. So obviously at ETN, we always say, please prioritize increasing shareholder value.
Indeed.
So we're fortunate enough to run it back, which is we're pumped to have him on. And they did a fat Series C. I think it was 100 mil.
100 mil, which is nuts. $1 billion company, which is very cool. No, Series A. 100 mil Series A.
That was Series A?
Yeah.
I thought that was Series C.
I'm pretty sure it was Series A. Anyway, we'll have to ask Bar. Then last on the show, we have JMJ, Jeff Morris Jr. He is the founder and general partner at Chapter One, ex-VP of Tinder. He is just an all-round stack dude, and it's going to be really cool to talk to him. I have a bunch of questions, just generally. I think he's a very smart human being. So it's going to be very, very cool to talk to him. He's calling in actually from California, I believe. So it'll be like 5:30 a.m. his time.
We're starting to get like a roster of these. Sorry, just for reference, to go back. Wonderful. What is 100 million Series A? Just nuts. To stress, Index Ventures and participation from Insight Partners and others.
Big company.
100 million company. Series A. We'd love to see it.
Yeah.
But yes, we do have now like a small roster of like these 5:30 a.m. SF wake up guests, which we're incredibly grateful for. They seem to be cropping up more and more, which we're very happy about as we cross over the pond.
Indeed.
Find our guests, you know.
Indeed.
Quite cool.
We are crossing over as we speak. The European Technology Network is taking it.
It's going
taking it
international.
global, which is fun. Always fun times. Anyway, first off, quick word from our sponsor, Airwallex. Leave outdated business banking behind. The all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one place. Go to airwallex.com. They gave us a McLaren car. We do love them. But anyway, moving on to the news. So
okay, I can get this up.
We should... basically, we wanted to put this first because this is obviously huge news. I believe it was a Sifted article came out. European Commission President backs EU Inc. Obviously, this is Andreas Klinger's. He's co-initiated it. He's spent 2 years building it up and trying to get it into European law, which is very, very cool. And it's just been kind of announced that she called it European Inc., which is really, really cool. Anyway, do you want to read out the article?
Yeah,
and we'll go from there.
So this is from SIFT. This is Martin Coulter and Maya Daharmpel Hornby. Sorry if I'm destroying the pronunciation there.
Nice.
Von der Leyen backs EU Inc. in landmark Davos speech. Commission President backs 28th regime at World Economic Forum. So Ursula von der Leyen has thrown her weight behind EU Inc.'s campaign to introduce a bloc-wide legal framework for the region's startups. Launched in 2024, the EU Inc. campaign has called for a new EU-wide legal framework, the 28th regime. Seeing the M dashes come up again. Just going to throw it out there. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that they're there. Like, the M dashes are there. That's all I'm saying.
Nice.
Anyway, to make it easier for fast-growing businesses to raise capital and operate across national borders. In a wide-ranging speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, European Commission President von der Leyen pledged to introduce a new, truly European company structure to deliver on the campaign's aim, name-checking the campaign. We call it EU Inc., with a single and simple set of rules that will apply seamlessly all over our union so that business can operate across member states much more easily, she told attendees on Tuesday. Our entrepreneurs, the innovative companies, we will be able to register a company in any member state within 48 hours, fully online. They will enjoy the same capital regime all across the EU. If we get this right, and if we move fast enough, this will not only help EU companies grow, but it will attract investment from across the world, which is really, really cool.
Very exciting.
There's more to discuss on this, but just quickly, I remember when we spoke to Andreas the King Klinger, which many people are calling this now.
He is the king.
Andreas the King Klinger. When we spoke to him at Slush, when we interviewed him at Slush, we've had him on the show a couple of times. He's a great friend. He came to our launch party. We were speaking to him even before we'd launched this, chatting to him for advice. He's been incredibly helpful to us as well. But what I remember, which was really funny, when we were chatting at Slush, he said that with these types of things, you kind of just you make the thing, the EU Inc. thing, is the thing in this predicament, in this example, and you make a load of noise around it. You make a load of noise around it. You're making a load of noise around it. You keep making noise around it wherever you can, and at the time we kind of likened it to like a US presidential candidate run, but you keep making noise in any way you can. You keep spreading it as like mind share and stuff. And you kind of just make it really easy for the people in power when they're sort of crossed with like a problem or something to solve, or it's like have to take action on something. You make it as easy as possible for them to take action through the medium that you've created. So let's say, okay, problem is like maybe, growth might be like not where we need it to be across Europe. Like, what's the way to save that? Okay, maybe we could put more money into startups. Maybe more companies should be built. Maybe more people should be investing. Like, okay, well, what's the easiest way to do that? Oh, look at EU Inc. Like, Andreas and the team have done loads of work on this already. Like, for us, like, it lowers the barriers to entry to take action on a certain like goal. And I feel that like the amazing work that the EU Inc. I don't know, what did you say? It's been 2 years.
Yeah, so he started it two-ish years ago, and it's so true. It's just like getting in front of mind, in front of kind of like the eyes of these people that are actually doing the thing. And so it's an easy kind of like mental. We were talking about it last show. It's like change the mental kind of way of doing something, and it just becomes easier when you've bridged that gap of, you know, in your mind, it's like, oh, well, you know, EU Inc. is obviously like the thing to go and do.
Yeah. It was like the increasing like your ability to attract luck, right? Like it was just like, I don't know, maybe you could get lucky and for some reason randomly EU Inc.'s been picked out, but that's not happened. Like they've done an amazing job. They've increased their surface area to receive quotation marks luck. In this regard, it's worked perfectly because they had to act, they had to do something. And like there was just amazing work in front of them.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, let's use this. Like this is amazing.
This is it.
Like,
it's already got traction, etc.
It's fully documented. Like I think it's like 2,000 like insane founders are supporting it. I think it's more now. Like I think it's 18,000 total. But like insane names. Like it's a no-brainer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, anyway, we can speak to Andreas about it. The article is interesting because it says, you know, obviously like it's a new kind of like exponential explosion of like supply side talent. Kind of stuff and all of that kind of stuff, and more people building companies and starting companies in Europe, which is really, really cool. There was a thing at the bottom of the article which kind of like interested me, and I kind of want to ask Andreas about this specifically. But Tom Henriksson, he's the GP at Open Ocean, Helsinki-based VC firm Open Ocean. So he said, we've yet to see how the rules are formulated, and the eternal problem with these regimes is that the member states are under no obligation to opt in. So it's basically like, it's not a done deal, basically. So it's like the result may just be another layer of bureaucracy and founders potentially shouldering compliance costs on the countries that do adopt it. Now, we're not saying like this might not happen. I think like, you know, we've seen from Andreas's work, like he is going to push, and him and his team are going to, you know, push and fight kind of like tooth and nail to make sure that this happens and isn't, you know, another layer of bureaucracy.
Yeah.
I guess he has a point, but like I want to understand why that is. Like, is there an opportunity for this to, an opportunity for this to kind of backfire? I don't think so.
Well, I'd love to ask you like, what would be the reasons for a country not to opt in?
Exactly, yeah.
Like,
exactly.
I don't know what they would be. It only seems like great things. Like, hey, do you want to speed this whole process up and not have like a notary sit there for 5 billion hours when we read out every single document in person?
Is there a world where some countries opt in and some opt out, and those are the ones that have opted out? Is that a thing? I don't know. Does it have to be all opt in or what?
Well, just the ones that opt in can operate on like a linked up framework, if you know what I mean. Like they
you can start.
They can benefit from working, you know, a lot closer to each other, right? But yeah, there was a cool part of the article. Where was it? The surprise. So they go on to say a surprise twist. We love a surprise twist here at ETN, the most European podcast in the world. Von der Leyen has spent months courting tech leaders in Europe, recently joining a gathering of policymakers and entrepreneurs at Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. Sorry.
Nice.
Kristersson's residence to talk policy. The EU Inc. news may feel like technocratic detail, but it's hugely exciting, Saranga said. General partner at Balderson, shout out to Saranga, wrote on LinkedIn, having a quick, easy, cheap and transparent way to start a company is obviously the first win. He added, but the bigger win here is the gross border nature of the structure. It's not just that you can now start a company easily in Germany, it's that you can, in the same country, hire product talent from Sweden, French engineers, and a sales team from Spain, Italy and Ireland, treat them the same way, have them on the same comp and equity programs. It's an exponential explosion in supply-side talent combinations. Von der Leyen's reference to EU Inc. in the speech was a surprise twist. Iwona Bennett, co-lead and architect of EU Inc.'s legal strategy, tells Sifted. It's funny how that is a surprise twist. And I think it kind of like plays to the point we were making earlier where it's like okay, we got to do this thing. Okay, these amazing people have done all this work. Like, this looks really great. EU Inc. We're going to do EU Inc., everybody. Like, EU Inc.'s the thing now. Like, because even Andreas was like, when we were chatting to him, we were live on the show. It was Tuesday, wasn't it? We were live, and then we got like 3 or 4 or 5 messages like breaking news, and like mentioning it and like screenshotting Andreas. So even his post was like, WTF? Like, this just happened at Davos. Like, Ursula's just said this at Davos.
All my work is just like led up to this woman saying the name.
Yeah, it's quite a joke that like they wouldn't, you would have thought if that was like prepared in a speech that they probably would have given the co-initiator of the EU Inc. A heads up, like, hey, like just to let you know, we're gonna say the thing that you've been working towards for ages. Like we're gonna announce it globally at Davos, where all like the leaders of the world are. Like, just thought you want to know that. Like, do you know what I mean?
FYI.
Yeah, just so you know, we're gonna like, globally announce.
But it turns
the
out
thing that you've been working
it gets
on.
dropped, and then he writes a LinkedIn post and gets 8,000 likes.
But yeah, which is nuts. But we I think there are some good like questions brewing here that we can ask him. And that we should have.
He's had a killer few days. So
and he also launched his third fund.
Third fund.
15 million.
Oh no,
euro.
maybe fourth.
Maybe it was fourth. It was 15 million euros focused on like hard tech. But it's funny how that like, because that was announced in the launch video. That was so sick. We played it on stream obviously, and then this happens and it's kind of like everyone's like looking at the EU Inc. thing now that we've. I wonder if it was fair. It's probably done wonders for his deal flow. I imagine actually.
Oh my
God.
God.
I think about it.
Yeah.
But kind of like this obviously like. He's also got really cool fun, guys. Like
he's playing the game very, very well. Should we move on before we have Andreas on?
Yes. Yeah.
Second on the roster is the Davos reactions.
We got some cool stuff, and we've got our Davos hats on as well. So
we do have our Davos hats on. Firstly, our main man Alex Heath. So he did an interview with Demis, and he said, Demis told me Google has no plans to put ads in Gemini. It's interesting. And then Demis goes, it's interesting. They've gone for that so early. He said of OpenAI putting ads in ChatGPT. Maybe they feel they need to make more revenue.
Yeah.
That is a swing for the gut, in my opinion.
It was nuts. I need to open up this article properly. I need to sign into Substack to get it. Let me do that.
No, it's paid.
No, this one's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was reading it last night.
Okay.
So yeah, well, let me get up the other clip from the conversation between Demis and Dario, because these ones are like actually kind of nuts as well. Hold on.
You're having a few technical issues.
Yeah, we always do on the European Technology Network. There we go. Okay, so this is another clip that we came across that we thought was nuts. This Dario and Demis talking at Davos on basically like AI and like the impact on jobs. Let me play this for the stream.
What you said.
Hold on. Can I hear that?
What
No.
you said.
Yeah.
I think we could have this.
I'm not sure the
unusual
format won't be all right
of
for
very
X.
fast GDP growth and high.
Okay, we'll just play the
unemployment
audio.
What you said. I think we could have
Here we
this
go.
very unusual combination of very fast GDP growth and high unemployment, or at least underemployment, or low wage job, a lot of low wage jobs, high inequality. I don't think that's correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that's a macroeconomic combination we've ever seen before. You think of fast growth, you're like, well, okay, maybe there's inflation, but you're...
I'm just pausing it quickly. When I first listened to this last night, I was thinking like when like taking economics at school, when you're like, I think we started doing it when we were like 15 maybe, or 14 or something. And it's all very like traditional. Like if this happens, like these are two sort of like unemployment typically could be paired with like this level of GDP like decline, or like this level of inflation is typical for this like level of GDP growth. And you can kind of pair all those things up, and there's usually like a nice like supply and demand side like chart that you can indicate like what happens to general prices then if the demand shifts to the right. Like, and I just imagine like this conversation being put into like those types of classes now, like it kind of like messes up the whole thing. As he says like, where is it? I don't
think that's a macroeconomic combination we've ever seen before. You think of fast growth, you're like, well, okay, maybe there's inflation, but you're not going to have high unemployment when there's fast growth. I think this technology is a bit different because it's extreme in the way it's gonna generate value, but also because it's moving up the cognitive waterline. There's going to be, unfortunately, a whole class of people who are, I think, across a lot of industries, going to have a hard time coping, and that.
So that's like, you know what I mean? He was saying like we've never had
flip the model on its head kind of thing.
We've never had
a technology like AI that does what it does and shifts the needle for every human being on Earth.
Well, I mean, like more like we've never had something that can sustain such high levels of growth while simultaneously like eradicating a large proportion of the jobs.
Yeah.
It's like high unemployment but high growth. Like that's just typically not something that you'll see together. And this is also interesting because it's the kind of not the first time, but it's becoming more. I think in the past, maybe the past like 3 years, AI first comes out and everyone's like, all of our jobs are going to go, and everyone uses it as like, okay, AI actually kind of sucks. Like it's not actually that good. Mm-hmm. And then who was it? What CEO? I think it was Klarna, the Klarna team. They let go of a bunch of people and opted in for like, we're going to go full blown AI. Like we're going like AI is the thing. Everything is going to be AI at Klarna. Like we're going crazy on AI. Laid off a bunch of people. And then like, I think a few other companies followed suit as well. It kind of became like the thing to do in enterprise, which then was fear mongering loads. And you know, everyone was like, oh, our jobs are at this, blah, blah. And then they 180'd and they kind of rehired a bunch of people back. And it was kind of, I think they fired too early, you know, like I think they let it off. They popped too early.
They realized that, you know, AI can't do 100% of the job.
It wasn't where it was kind of maybe marketed to be, or like global sort of consensus thought it was that, like kind of like in terms of the fear.
Demis says he believes it's at like 95%, and he says if it's at 100%, then great. Like, or you know, jobs will go.
Yeah.
You can replace a job with 100%, but that 5% is that's a lot. Is what he's saying. And so like, yes, you can, you know, AI can do 95% of what, you know, what a human is doing in their job, but it's not 100%. And there in turn is a long way to go.
Yeah. Like the diminishing returns like per increases, like it is scaling. Like it's a lot more, you know, money, power, data to increase that 95 to 96 than it would be to increase like that 1 to 2, if that makes sense, right? Like, so
yeah, Demis responded and said to Dario's prediction, he says it's a longer timeline. The models still have to solve for consistency and the jagged intelligence issue. An agent that can do 95% of a job won't replace the job. It would have to do 100%, and that's still like a ways away. Like it's still going to take a lot of time.
Yeah. We have
do
the
you
clip.
agree or disagree with his prediction that AI will wipe away 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs in 5 years?
I think that's also my timelines and my view on that would be a lot longer. I mean, I think we're starting to see maybe the beginnings of that this year in terms of maybe entry-level jobs or internships, those types of things. But I think we would have to solve a lot more of this consistency that AI doesn't have right now. I call it jagged intelligences. We're very good at certain things.
Jagged intelligence, that's such a cool...
Yeah, that's cool.
I want to start saying that more.
And it's very poor, the current systems at other things. And if you want to offload or delegate an entire task to, say, an agent, rather than having what we have today, which are more like assisted programs, you're going to need a lot more consistency across the board. It's no good for it to be good at 95% of that task. You need it to be good at the whole task for you to be able to actually just sort of fire and forget on it. So I think there's still quite a lot more to be done before we'll see that kind of disruption.
Do you agree or...
Watching Demis is so refreshing compared to everyone else. Like, I feel that like what's been taken away from Davos the most is that when we look at like Dario, Demis, Sama and Musk, is like Dario and Demis seem to be a lot more pro-human and like obviously undoubtedly pro-technology, but pro-human as well. Like making sure that we do this in a comfortable fashion, in a way that's like safe for the world. And there's another point on here that we can go into actually further down. I can pull it up in a sec, but about how here, I think it was Demis and Dario. I'm not sure if it was just Demis, but I think Demis and Dario kind of jointly agreed that, you know, if it was just those two in this AI race, then they'd be okay with pausing things, slowing things, not slowing things down, but
down a little bit,
like a little bit, but just kind of like pausing, assessing, you know, maybe speaking a bit more, opening lines of communication between the two labs, and just having like an open conversation about what the technology can do and will do and what the future looks like with a world that's kind of run by this stuff. But they aren't able to do that. It's just like standard game theory, right? They aren't able to do that because all four parties aren't opting in to do that. And the other two being Sama and Musk. So they're kind of left with this. Like, I think Dario's more like, look, I'd love to do that, dude, but I can't. Like, if we have these two in the race as well, like it just makes no sense for us to do that. So, which is, I don't know if that's sad or good. I'm trying to work it out. I do like.
But I think also was it the Thinking Game? That was the documentary, right?
Yeah.
And like they highlighted when Google DeepMind, kind of hit where they wanted to hit with protein structure predictions.
It was protein folding stuff.
Yeah. So essentially, like, they clearly showed that Demis was like, I want to open source this to the world. I want to make sure that this is like, a good thing for humanity. And that is like a very bullish case for him, because it's clear that yes, he's like at the forefront of this technological innovation and all of that kind of stuff, and people are worried about their jobs and whatever. But he's the right guy to be in that position. And so he's not as kind of public as the others like Sam or Elon, but what he is he knows his place and knows how to play the game. And I think, his little dig saying, they need the, OpenAI need the capital, they need the revenue, hence why they're doing ads. We're not going to do ads. Like, I think it's an interesting thing that they're coming so early into this. It's he has all the power, but knows how to kind of control that power. This is really exciting.
I agree. Really cool. I agree with some of that. I think I disagree with like the ads thing. I think is like, he says that because he can say that because Google's ads business.
Because they have a billion,
which is an
multi-billion-dollar ads business.
That. So it's. I think it's unfair for him to throw. I don't think he's like throwing shade, but he said it. It's a quote. So like, yes, it's funny for a guy. Well, yes, it's unfortunate that maybe
it's kind of just like how like I've got a multi-billion-dollar like ads business. You don't. You have to create one then, like, to be able to go and do what you want to go and do.
I think it's unfair then to like maybe throw shade at a company that's like using ads to bring in revenue, to train models and to scale.
I guess.
But I don't think he's like just intentionally throwing shade. I think he's just like mentioned it and it's a thing. But
no, it is a thing. Like, that's the thing. Yeah, it's a thing. He's mentioned it. Like. That it's not throwing shade at all. It's just kind of the way he said it was like, which is quite funny.
Yeah, it's like slightly dismissive in a way. He kind of just like threw it out there, like maybe have one of them, cheeky one of those. But I agree. After watching the Thinking Game as well, it was very that moment where, and then obviously he goes on to win a Nobel Prize for AlphaFold and the work they did with protein folding and stuff. But which is like I guess a reward enough. Like a Nobel Prize is pretty sick. Not many people get those, but he. That specific scene you mentioned when they're in that boardroom type thing and they're like, we've done it, like, okay, cool, like how are we gonna roll this out? Kind of like what's the plan? Do we do a bit of this? Like push some of it over there? And he's like, he's you can see on his face how confused he is, and he's just like, he's like, what? And he's like, we've done, like, release all of it. And they're like kind of looking around like, what? And then he's like, yeah, release it. And just like closes his book and like gets up and just walks out of there. Yeah. He's like, yeah, see you. Like, yeah, release it. Bye.
Like, obviously, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he can't work out. He's like, what? Why would we not do this? This is amazing for humanity, right? That is kind of the guy you want.
That's the guy you want in the hot seat.
And it made me think a little bit that like watching Musk and Sam go back and forth. Not that I love it because I love drama, obviously, but it was a little bit. I don't know. It kind of looked like two kids playing around a little bit, and then you got Demis and Dario that are like, the grandfathers like, come on, guys.
Yeah. They're in the clouds, looking down. Anyway, before we have Andreas on, quick word from our sponsor, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. I believe we have Andreas in the show. Andreas, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to hit the trumpets right now because we have got Andreas,
we're in the presence of a king.
Klinger in the house, ladies and gentlemen. The crowd's going wild. Andreas, we have been so stoked to have you back on. We are always so stoked to have you on the show. How's it been?
I'm so sad we couldn't make it happen on Tuesday.
Yeah, that was tough.
It would have been so spot on, dude.
I know.
Because it was live, dude.
Classic timing.
So,
mate, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very, very good. Like, first of all, thanks for having me on the show again. Like, a big fan. It's awesome what you guys do. Love this. Like, just like keep it up, please. And every time you want to have me, please have me. Like, it's a huge honor.
Appreciate it.
Mate,
Good. We launched a new fund on Monday, which was very well received.
We'll do a manual hand clap. The manual hand clap is like it's like a one above the auto hand clap. It's like it's a
little bit above the emoji.
yeah, exactly.
And so that was epic, and that would have been a good week already. And then on Tuesday, the president announced that they essentially call their version of a pan-European legal entity also an EU Inc., which is a very clear signal that they basically fully bought in and that they want to do, hopefully, something that lives up to the name. But let's celebrate that one when it's fully done. But like, this is still huge if you think about it. Like, the president of the European Union mentioning this on Davos in front of every world leader. Dude, that's as peak as it gets in politics, I guess.
Yeah, that's nuts. It's so nuts, and we have so many questions to ask around that. I mean, I just wanted to ask straight away. We were kind of chatting about it, but what did you have a heads up? Because that seems like it just came out of the blue. Is that not weird? Is that not really weird? I would have thought that hey,
it genuinely happened during our team call. And it was like, hey, should we check out the live stream for like the Davos thing, her speech? And we're like, it's like, it might be like half an hour, who knows? Like let's check there's a transcript. And then somebody in the team was, hey, she mentioned EU Inc. And we were like, cool. Like, what did she say? No, she mentioned EU Inc. And then he just posted a screenshot in it, like, of the transcript. And everybody was like, dude, if you are faking this, like, if this is a joke, like, I fly to like wherever you are right now, and like I end you, And then he sent the link to the actual official press release, and we were like double checking, is this domain, like, the guy's like tech savvy, like, is the domain correct, like, how could he fake that? Is that real? And then,
that's hilarious.
Yeah. And that was like literally
cool.
during our EU Inc. team call. And then I just went on Twitter and we're like, yo, what the fuck?
That's so funny.
I mean, to this day is my most liked and retweeted tweet ever. Like, anybody who tells you anything about like optimizing the algorithm or copy editing, screw that. Like, yo, what the fuck is now my peak poetry?
Just go and have something happen with like something massive happen and launch it straight away, because
exactly.
As you would. Anyway, the LinkedIn post also went absolutely wild.
That was going nuts. Dude. We were following that. I think what was it like? I think it's like 7K or something. 7.
Yeah. And the official one of EU Inc. has like 10K or something. It's like bonkers. Like, I didn't even know
that's
that you
likes as well.
LinkedIn.
That's not impressions. That's likes. Like, that's insane.
Yeah, totally. But more importantly, and hopefully they actually get this thing done properly. And if they get this thing done properly, we will hopefully have the biggest step function improvement for founders, at least so far in our lifetime in Europe. So fingers crossed that they actually live up to the name.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what? Because we were talking about it before, and obviously, like, a Sifted article came out and mentioned it, and it was basically saying that. I think
before we do, we have some new viewers and new like people in the chat. So like, could we maybe like just, what is EU Inc. again from you?
Dude, I'm a pro at explaining that.
You'd hope so.
So a very high level, EU Inc. is an movement by the startup ecosystem to create a pan-European legal entity, or differently put, like a company that you can create that's on European level, that every investor that wants to invest in European companies knows, and like make that super easy. So like the equivalent would be Stripe Atlas meets YC Safe Notes, and then additionally use that platform to just fix annoying stuff. For example, most notably stock options in Europe. Just make it possible that you can give your team stock options, like don't bankrupt them with taxes because like some country doesn't know how to handle it and whatever. Like just fix that and a few other things, but basically fix the early stage acceleration problem we have in Europe by creating a way bigger pond of potential investors founder can source from, no longer just local angels, but like European-wide angels, ideally globally angels, and that's the goal of this whole thing.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Now we can go to yours. Sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it happens, that's great. And I want to ask like the specifics of like how how can it happen, and what are the potential implications if it doesn't? Because so in the article it basically says, I can't remember, some GP at some I think it was London-based and like Helsinki-based fund basically said, like, there's a potential that it could add more bureaucracy, and I didn't really understand that. How can it actually happen?
Yeah, with like people would have to opt in basically.
Yeah.
But then we asked, like, why would you not opt in?
I mean, everything can happen with everything as long as you don't know what the actual thing is. So I don't know. It's just like speculation. Like the main idea is right now you have 27 to like, I don't know, 100 different legal entities in Europe, and if it's clear that this one is the main one, the standard one, like the default one, you can just like simplify a lot. And in a way you remove like 27 or 100 different regulations around all of that. And you just have like one that everybody knows. And more importantly, people can also productize, So like make a better web interface, make better legal documents, like just like create, like use this like a platform almost, and then hopefully at least for the end user, for founders, this will become 100 times easier, That's how I think about it. What the reality is, like what they will actually propose, we will see in mid to end of March. So that's like their timeline that they set. So like that's when Brussels says, hey, this is how we think this should be done, Then we know how much of our recommendations they actually use, not just like, but use. And then the next question is like, given that the European Union is actually a union of countries, it's not basically like the member states hold all the power to say, like the leaders of the member states. The question is like, will they all be in for it? Like, do they want that? Like, or will there be like a heavy pushback? We don't expect one, but you never know. And the way it's set up to make this happen, it has to be accepted by all of them. And that's the main issue, and there is countries like Luxembourg, Ireland that make mainly money through having holdcos, There is countries like Hungary that are just like problematic by default, so like you never know. But the good news is if it actually would fail, there is a concept called an enhanced cooperation, which just means you pick the ones that want it and do it with them, So assuming that the law in March is useful, this will happen no matter what. This is how I think about it. You know what I mean? So like fingers crossed.
So cool.
Okay, that's cool. And I think it's probably worth like going from, I wrote a tweet a few hours ago, basically, saying it's been 2 years, with the UN and trying to push it and trying to kind of get to this stage. Maybe it's worth doing like a chronological, like how have you done it? Like what's the, what is the chronological things that you've had to kind of get through, the hoops you've had to jump through to be able to get something like this in place? Because I think there's a lot of people in Europe that obviously want things like this, and we need more Andreas Klingers to kind of really push things forward. And tell us the secret.
So on my end, the timeline was so I wanted to do some pro-European community at some point, and I had a lot of names that I liked but not really loved. And then a friend of mine, Peter Levels, launched his EUAC community, and inspired by that, I wrote an article that, hey, yes, we need more pro-European stuff. And the main thing I think is not so much trying to, I don't know, just vibe it or just emulate America. What we actually need is we need to fix the underlying system of Europe, and because the system in Europe is disadvantageous to founders. And the main reason is it's so fragmented. It's just so annoying. Like if you start a company in Belgium and you want to expand to the next country and then to the next and to the next, you basically always start from zero. All the investors, they don't invest in neighboring countries because it's just pain in the ass to do. And it's just fragmentation. And my main pitch was we need to fix that fragmentation. And the easiest one that I could see were two. One was create a pan-European legal entity. And number two was introduce English in the very earliest form of schools and make it mandatory language in each country. So government, that you can use English in government in every country. And that blog post went super viral. We started a Discord group around it and a few other things. And there was originally we thought that you cannot actually do this with politicians because they just don't get it. So what we wanted to do was creating transparent hold companies. So essentially Estonian or Luxembourg or Dutch, doesn't matter. Holding companies, like think of like remote.com or Stripe Atlas, but you create the holding company, and that thing is just there as an investment vehicle. It's just there as for cap tables, stock options, all this kind of stuff, you know. And we looked very much into this, and this was doable, but surprisingly complex, because by default, those would be perceived as tax evasion, no matter what you do. So you have basically 99% of your work is just explaining governments this is not tax evasion, even as a founder. And then all of a sudden, due to the efforts of the startup associations in Europe, the concept of the 28th regime became more popular in Brussels again. And for context, the 28th regime is basically the idea you have 27 countries, and then for special purposes, you create a 28th special solution that all of them can opt in for certain problems, you know? And that was always a meme in Brussels, like, yeah, it would be great, but never happens. And then all of a sudden, maybe it should, you know? And then we were like, hey, maybe we can do like a proper solution, and then like basically pivoted on that thing. And like a ton of legal work, like this, and figuring out like how can that actually be implemented, and then launched that in end of summer in 1.5 years ago, so not last year, but the year before, you know, 24, I guess. Launched that, had very quickly the who is who of European founders and investors supporting it, and then doubled down to actually formulate the legal proposal in detail, which is on a proposal.eoinc.org, which is fully open source. We had like 100 plus open source contributors, the best legal teams in Europe, like Ulrich Burdenberg, Osborne Clark, and a few others like contributed to that and helped with that. And that we actually, like, this is completely fleshed out. Like, this is how this could work as a compromise, like all the trade-offs, all the back and forths, you know, like also like legalities figured out. It's 80 to 100 pages. If you have nothing better to do, please read it. If you like legal text. I don't know who your audience is. And yeah, long story short, at that point, we also started working more and more with the commission, have been to countless meetings. And from there on, it's just like, you know, Groundhog Day. Meet a person, repeat the whole story. Meet a person, repeat the whole story. Meet a person, repeat the whole story. Yeah.
So nice. And I was saying just before you came on, like I remember when we spoke at Slush.
Yeah.
And you were saying like how these things typically work is that, you know, you do all this work, you make the thing, you make it better, and then you kind of market this thing in a weird way, like not like a traditional marketing, but you're talking to people, you're having all these conversations, you're telling them about it, you're meeting with the right people, you're telling the right people, and then like you're telling the next right person the same thing, like kind of what you just said over and over and over again, until it's like it's almost so good and so obvious and so like you could pick it up and deploy it. Like you've done all the work. That's the point in when maybe there's some sort of like large scale like transformation type thing that needs to happen across like the EU. Maybe I was saying earlier, an example could be like just general growth, general GDP growth. It's like, how can we increase that? Let's look behind me. What have we got on the shelf? Ooh, like EU Inc. This looks insane. This looks really good. Like, is that at all?
In a way, yeah. So we did a few things a bit different. So number one is we intentionally did this with the community. So not like, hey, we are this small group, blah, 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 but like very public, very much with the community. Number two, this whole thing is not like a lobby group. This is basically a WhatsApp group. Like it's just a bunch of people doing this completely voluntarily. Like there's no money involved intentionally, you know, because otherwise you like, you know, whatever. Additionally, what we did is we didn't just say like, hey, you guys suck, you should do it better, or like startups are important. Here's like 80 people signing that startups are important, you know, and here's like 5,000 ideas we have. We actually picked one very important idea and went deep what actually needs to be implemented, you know, like how in detail. And like here's a full, as I said, like on the shelf, full thing, you know. And all of that was very intentional. And the other work, which is much more mimetic, like you just make it very reduced, very understandable. Like you understand where like different points of views are, and you try to have very clear answers. You try to make your core request as small as possible, you know. So like very, like almost like memes in a way, you know what I mean? I don't know, like apparently that works.
So cool.
I mean, it did work. It's probably worth now moving on to the fund.
Yeah,
I don't know if you have any
100%.
more questions about.
By the way,
it.
before we do
no.
that, one more thing. Another thing that helps is
We got that.
praying, which I recommend a lot
I
of
saw
people.
this is great.
This is Mario Draghi, okay?
We need to get one of those in the studio. That
The
is
saints
awesome.
of hopeful progress, you know?
We should all say a quick prayer before we jump on stream. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
We need to get one of those.
We can get it on the shelf somewhere.
No kidding. Like I had a portfolio company of mine the day before, and there's a joke. We made a picture where we all pray in front of the Draghi picture, you know? And the next day the van der Leyen thing happened. And we're like, okay, maybe these religions are onto something. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it actually works.
Might as well opt in. I like that.
That's so good. That's so good.
Let's do the fund. The 100%.
Tell us about the fund. Tell us about
just launched it.
Yeah, everything about it. I've got a few questions about it.
So the whole policy thing is like a side thing we do, like a hobby, you know. Full-time job, I'm an investor. Like I'm an engineer by trade, but like I'm an investor by job nowadays. And we do super early stage investing, first round, first check, hardware, robotics, manufacturing. Like I always say, like weird stuff that makes sense, you know. Like ideally, like just annoying to build, but potentially rethinking an industry is like the ideal case. We do this for two reasons. Number one, because it's fun. And number two, because we genuinely think Europe has like an edge in this. We have like some of the best precision manufacturing, some of the best robotics, some of the best, like all of the components that you need for that right here in Europe. We should be branding ourselves as a robotics hub, you know. If San Francisco would have a region like Munich or Zurich next to it, you know, they wouldn't shut up about it. You know, I mean, they would constantly like promote it, and we barely talk about it, you know. And we don't only have them, we also have like in Amsterdam and like multiple other hubs, and then even London has like insane robotic talent, like for example at Imperial College of London. So like what we want to do with the fund is like be extremely opinionated and go as early as possible in this kind of stuff, you know, because there's too much investing based on market conviction, I would call it, in VC in Europe. So like, let's do the stuff that all other funds are doing, you know, and I genuinely don't care about this. I'm in a lucky position that all my previous funds worked really well. I have 2.5 funds more or less, like 2 real funds and like 1 breakout fund. And all of them are in the top 1 to top 5 percentile worldwide. So I'm in a lucky position that I can just tell my LPs, look, I want to do the next one officially fully on Europe. And they're like, yeah, cool, go for it. You know?
That's so way. That's so cool. Do you know what the split was between, because you spend a lot of your time in Europe, in the first 2 funds, was it kind of 50-50? What was the split between like the rest of the world?
My first funds were global by design, and in practice this meant 1/3 Bay Area, 1/3 rest of USA, like 20% Europe, maybe 25% Europe. And then the rest was like mainly India, a little bit Latin America, a little bit like rest of the world, basically, you know.
Nice.
Big fan of Indian deep tech. So if the whole Europe thing wouldn't be like a thing that I'm passionate about right now, I most likely would invest primarily in India right now.
Interesting.
And some of the most insane engineering talent there, like, and highly ambitious. Like, have a lot of friends there. Big fan of the whole country, the food and everything. But like this was like fund 1 especially, and fund 2 as well. And then at the end of fund 2, we were already doing like the whole pro-European community and like EO Inc. and everything. And we like just noticed that we do no longer want to invest in American competitors. We want to invest directly here and make like new companies here, you know. And so we just wanted to make it explicit with fund 3 that we want to invest mainly here. And I think this is super important because the amount of family offices I talk to that are complaining about Europe's economy not picking up, at the startup ecosystem not being fast enough and all this kind of stuff, but investing all of their money in the US is absurd. Like Europe is the only region that I can think of that invests all of its money in other economies and complains that their own economy doesn't work. Like like no other region does that. Like you know, like that's like schizophrenic. And so our main goal was like, you know what, like we need new GDP driving companies here as quickly as possible. If nobody else is doing it, let's do it ourselves, you know, and like made the whole fund about it.
That's interesting. That we've had many conversations on the show with a lot of people talking about how, like, is it too late for Europe on that side of things? On, like, let's say taking like the model providers as an example, right? Like, yes, we have Mistral, but it's not often that you see it get brought up in most conversations. I think they're doing great work there, and they've released some cool stuff recently with like large deals with like things like Tesco and HSBC. But what do you say to that, right? Is Europe able to compete at that level?
Yeah,
like,
100%.
it needs a lot of capital.
100%. And we have all the capital. We just send it to the States. You know what I mean? We have the capital. Like, the capital isn't the issue. We need to fix the underlying system so that it's like a no-brainer to actually put the money here. And the main thing that the US is good in, they're doing really, really good in two things. You know, number one is having a unified market that actually allows like dynamism, like you have enough like energy movement, all this kind of stuff, you know. And number two, they're extremely good at creating financial products and financial markets. Like their stock exchanges, their debt financing in general, like the main export of the US is debt, you know, like everybody gives them money and they will print more money. Like that's the core business model of the US right now. And no offense to any of you Americans here, but what I'm trying to say is in Europe, what we need to fix the core loop that you need in tech innovation. That's like fast incorporation and ultimately exit. So you need like a stock exchange, a pan-European stock exchange. And you also need the pan-European stock exchange so that the retail investors know where to put their money. Like, do you know how to invest in German companies, like, or in French companies, or in Polish companies, or in Estonian companies? Like, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't want to figure it out, you know? So, like, not even me, you know what I mean? So what you want a pan-European stock exchange where all the Europeans be like, hey, I put my money there. And you create like all these index fund products and so on and so on. And because of that, you create the uplift so that like larger institutional LPs can say, yes, it makes sense to invest in a European VC because there is an exit market. You know, because there is like enough uplift from the public market, sorry. And that's like a core thing that we need. And then additionally, you need to go into every industry and figure out what is the stack of problems that they have that you need to fix. AI is an extreme case. Like, it's from energy to data centers to models, like all of that we lag behind, you know, semiconductors, like all of that, you know. Robotics, for example, is a little bit easier. Like we managed to sell a ton to China for no freaking reason whatsoever, you know. But a part of that, we still have a lot of the supply chain here. We still have all the know-how here. Like, it's like robotics, you can still fix that stack comparably easy, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I genuinely think we not only we can compete, I genuinely think we have to compete because we have another 10 years. We either like fix our whole economy, create new GDP winners, or nobody else will, you know? Nobody else will also want to help us afterwards. Like, who is going to? Like the US? No fucking way. China, they won't care. India, they won't care. You know what I mean? So it's either us fixing our own economy and building new winners, global winners, or nobody else. And I think we have another 10 to 20 years for doing that. And I think we have easily the path for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, 100% your work is very much moving the needle, which is really cool. One other thing just before you go is you've relaunched the YouTube channel, or like, you know, you've done that alongside launching the fund, which I think is awesome. Have you how does that like play into like being an investor? How important is that? Do you think more investors should do things like that? And two, what's the coolest like office or warehouse or whatever like workspace that you've been to so far or semi-recently?
So for context for everybody watching, I run a YouTube channel. It's still small, but this year we quadruple, whatever down, you know. Just search for my name on YouTube and you find it. The whole idea of the YouTube channel is to showcase number one companies that are just based in Europe. Like, this company is a legit global winner or will be a global winner, and they are based in Europe. It's not like the best in Europe. They're like the best from Europe. You know what I mean? And that's the whole job. And I do this by actually going into the workshops, showing the real machines, the real founders, like, hey, like, show me this, explain me this. What are you guys doing? Without the whole PR BS that you have like in podcasts or on panels, you know, like when everybody's hyper intellectualizing everything. It's like, show me the freaking machine, you know, and like, why did you do this? How did you do this? How did you get here? You know, it's like as raw as it gets. That's the goal of the the YouTube channel is basically to shape the narrative, because so much of the freaking narrative we have on Europe is actually just American propaganda. Like, we don't have almost no narrative about Europe from us ourselves, that isn't defeatist, like, which is ridiculous. We're like the largest economy in the world. We are like the second largest manufacturing hub in the world. Like, let's like fucking do something with this, instead of like, oh yes, please tell me how much we suck. Oh, thank you, random Russian bot on Twitter telling me how much Europe is doomed. Thank you for that. Like, fuck that shit. Like,
Yeah.
well, like let's stand up and like, do this ourselves. Like, fuck that. And this is, for me, like, narrative shifting is the number one, and the second one is I really don't want to be known as the policy guy. So if I could be the YouTube guy, that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
What is that? YouTuber, investor, policy guy.
Yeah, like, push the policy guy as far down as you can.
You can just do like a really long pause before you say that.
Exactly,
Like YouTuber,
exactly.
investor, then wait a couple seconds, then policy.
Well, hopefully being on ETN helps that
Every
case
time,
being
dude,
on camera.
yeah.
Good stuff.
Andreas, thank you so much for joining us, man.
As always.
We have obviously overrun, as we always do with you, but
Luke, Ronan, it's an honor. Thanks so much for having me.
no, the
Good
honor is
stuff,
ours.
good
Thank
stuff.
you, dude. Have a good day as well.
Yeah, you're
Ciao.
killing it. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Amazing
Always so fun
stuff.
to hang with Andreas the King Klinger.
Indeed. Quick
it
word from our
first.
sponsor, Airwallex. Leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one place. Go to airwallex.com. They gave us a McLaren car. We like them very, very much. You probably noticed that I took my hat off. They're so warm.
Oh yes, you've taken yours off.
Oh my god!
Your Davos
I was like,
hat.
I was gonna
Mate,
faint.
we're about to go back into Davos reactions, and you're not wearing your Davos
Okay, I'll
hat.
do it now. Yeah. Just before we have Anane on.
So
there we go.
let me.
Yeah, I got very warm. But
This is a cool one here, the Macron one. We've been watching this on repeat all day.
yeah, this is great.
Let me go on to. Let me. The shades,
go
man.
Go back.
The shades are so good.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have it up here at the top like that.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
We do prefer respect to bullies. We do prefer science to plotism. And we do prefer rule of law to brutality. We have a place where rule of law and predictability is still the rule of the game. And my guess is that it is largely underpriced by the market. Having a place like Europe, which sometimes is too slow, for sure, and needs to be reformed, for sure.
For sure.
But which is predictable, loyal, and where you know that the rule of the game is just the rule of law, it's a good place. And here in the episode,
True.
Mic
that
drop.
Word up.
He basically
the rule
mic
of the
dropped and
game is
walked off.
he's like, come on, like we know the rules of the game here.
We tend to be slow, for sure.
Big hit. Big hit.
Macron, we love Macron.
We need to get
so
that on
much.
the soundboard.
That's our.
actually. Can we
Oh
get
my
a sound
God, what a
bite
great
of that?
idea. We'll get Fushel.
Yeah, we need to sort that out.
Yeah, we'll sort it out.
But
we could never have Macron on the show.
Well,
that
can
would
we
be
just also
pretty
take a
nice.
second to appreciate the shades? So
yeah.
he was. I'm sorry, but I love this new Macron aura. I'm a huge fan of it. I think it should stay. I think the
need more of it.
aviator glasses should be like part of his fit now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was seeing load of posts like, okay, why is he wearing these? Like, does he actually need to wear these? Whatever. And then he came back. He's like, I have a problem with one of my eyes. Actually, I have to. Like the light.
No, but
was
he needs
too,
to own. He needs to own it.
What you're saying? Like, no, I don't need them. I just want to wear them.
Yeah. He shouldn't have said that. He just said, "I'm just
maybe
an
he does.
absolute gangster."
Maybe the light was too sensitive for him at Davos. We don't.
Maybe,
know that. We
maybe.
don't know if that's like 100%. It's just a rumor, but. Yeah, I'm a fan. I like it. I think the Macron get up with the glasses is really cool, and that was a cool speech. The line on like we respect the
for sure.
game. Well, obviously the for sure thing is pretty funny as well. But
That's my favourite thing.
The rules of the game are the rules of law. Like don't break the rules. Don't mess around. I think taking a sort of aimed at Trump with the tariffs and stuff around like Greenland. But
probably.
I mean, major respect. I think it's cool.
Indeed. We love Macron. Quick word from our sponsor, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Next on the show, we have Anane. He is the co-founder of QFX. Anane, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. How you doing?
We are doing good.
You are live on ETN.
Yeah, we are live and direct. Welcome back to the show. I was going to say welcome to the show, but it was welcome back to the show, actually.
Yeah, privileged to be on twice, actually. So thanks for having me back.
Mate, it's our
I love the hats, by the
pleasure.
way. Where are they coming from?
Oh, these are our
Davos hats.
Davos reactions hats, because we're not actually at Davos, but we did a trade deal on Tuesday evening with the founder of Notion Capital, who gave us these hats. We gave him one of our caps, so I think it was a profitable trade deal.
Yeah, 50% tariff. I like it.
Yeah. He's been done that, actually. We should maybe send him some more caps. That's all we've got at the cap. Maybe we have to drop a new line of merch. I don't know what it will be.
Well, they're valuable things.
They are. They're in high demand.
As what it is. But anyway, how have you been? How is QFX? What can you tell us that's new?
Yeah, absolutely. So been great, which is weird when you're working 14 hours a day, like 7 days a week. Like normally you don't use the word great to describe it, but building a company feels amazing. So yeah, I think everyone on the team is feeling great. We've had a ton of new users flow in, and we are very, very close to our full launch. We actually just had like a load of institutional partners join up last week.
Amazing.
And yeah, word has been spreading very, very quickly. I think the whole space around equity perps, what we're building, in particular relating to kind of 24/7 markets. We saw the New York Stock Exchange just did like a big announcement that they're going to move the spot, the cash equity side of things to 24/7, which is a huge lift.
Wow.
Because they have to track ownership of all these things and where they end up. Yeah. And then obviously on the futures and the derivative side, the perpetual side, like we're doing, things are moving quicker. And we aim to bring that product to people as early as next week. So our launch day is set in place for next Monday. People listening interested in trading equity perps, sign up on our waitlist. We're ready. So it's been a marathon effort over the last 11 months or so, but we've finally gone ahead and done it. So very, very excited about that.
That's so cool. Congrats. Massive congrats. Probably worth explaining exactly kind of like what QFX is, the differentiator. Obviously, you mentioned the 24/7 market, and then we can go from there. I've got a bunch of questions about like customers and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, QFX is just a new way to do... It's kind of interesting. Like it depends who you ask, but if you ask people who really know what they're talking about with market structure, what they'll tell you is it's a new way of doing risk and settlement using some stablecoin and crypto-based technologies that's just way more capital efficient and allows people to trade with a lot more leverage. So, if you want to go and buy a stock, let's say Tesla stock, you can generally go out and buy the stock. That's fine. You might be able to borrow money from a broker. Say if you use like a broker for kind of sophisticated people like interactive brokers, for example, you might be able to borrow money from the broker and use that to buy more stock than the money you have in your account, maybe up to 2x or 3x or 4x if you're like really sophisticated. But what you can't really do is go really high leverage on that. And what we've built is an exchange that allows you to do that because of the way its risk engine works. And it borrows ideas from crypto technologies, both blockchain based and non-blockchain based. And it integrates them and tweaks them basically for that traditional asset space, where the design problem is a little bit different because the underlier isn't open 24/7 yet. And basically allows people to trade in like a really high leverage, capital efficient way and 24/7. So, we saw obviously all the action with Trump over the weekend and Davos and Greenland and stuff. Like you can now trade that news. And the markets move at the speed of information, which is what I think, prediction markets, you guys sponsored by Polymarket, that's what they're all about. It's about how do we get information and aggregate it into an exchange? One of like the best things that humanity's ever invented. It's like one of the tenets of capitalism, right? Yeah. Like free trade, free frictionless trade. And how do we aggregate all that information into like one place as easy as possible? So that's basically what we built. I guess go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, you mentioned obviously like the kind of amazingness, I guess, of exchanges and you know that I guess business model, right? But what are it's highly regulated, capital intensive. Like, what are those like massive hurdles that I imagine there are building from like the ground up? Like, how do you go out and go and build an exchange when, you know, you mentioned like the 50x leverage? Are you the ones that are kind of like underwriting that risk? Like, how does that actually work?
Yeah. So it's a massive effort, and I guess like the
I'm not surprised.
the amazing thing and the kind of almost necessary thing that if you're kind of trying to build this as a startup and not as like a big bank or something, is that you have to find a model where we as a startup don't underwrite the risk, right? Because otherwise, you know, we would need hundreds of millions in capital. So the way it works is we just build like a marketplace where people who want to buy and sell and transact in these things kind of come and find each other. It's just like Amazon, right? Like Amazon, well, maybe they do a little bit now, but for the majority of its existence, didn't actually buy, warehouse, and sell and act as the provider of liquidity on the products it was hosting. It was just a marketplace for buyers and sellers to find each other. Same with Airbnb. Airbnb doesn't actually go in the business of owning real estate and leasing out real estate. They're in the much more kind of scalable business of allowing people to buy and sell time in their own real estate. And just in that sense, we don't actually go and underwrite the risk. We operate the venue and we set the contract specifications and we set the rules for how people transact. And we aim to attract people who want to buy and sell these things. And we operate as a marketplace rather than as a warehouse or a retailer. Yeah. So, and that's a much better model. So it's the model we have to go down, but it's also a much better model because, we even if we go out and raise $100 million tomorrow, $100 million is still very little compared to the about $2 trillion a day that financial markets actually go out and transact. Yeah. So you actually want to go and find those people transacting and bring them to your venue, not actually be the one who's on the other side of every trade. That's like the much more scalable business.
To jump in, you mentioned like prediction markets and the rise of. I mean, we've seen the insane rise of both Polymarket and Kalshi. And
shout out to Polymarket.
Yeah, of course. Shout out to Polymarket. Like how are they like changing the trading game? I'm sure like this is we're seeing a lot of like sort of professional traders that have maybe taken a ride. Like crypto is a similar thing, right? Like a lot of institutional traders or like previously like actual. I don't know what the correct word would be, just like standard financial institutional traders found their way into crypto, made a load of cash because they were applying the same things that they learned to that. And now in a similar have moved on to prediction markets. Like how is this changing the market that you sort of work in?
Yeah, there's a few points. So firstly, I'll mention that, I'm in that category. You said, I worked at Flow Traders, which is a high frequency trading firm. And then I basically started applying some of those strategies I learned there to crypto markets in my own time. And that's why I actually left the job in the first place.
You started making more money.
I was making more money doing that than I was in my job, basically.
That's so cool.
My first year there. I guess like the two big things are like, one is that it's kind of teaching a large part of the world about the market economy, and people who weren't necessarily exposed to financial markets before are kind of learning about their power and their use in basically, there's two fundamental uses of prediction markets, of markets in general, right? Like one is price discovery and the other is to enable frictionless trade. The price discovery thing is very cool with prediction markets because basically it allows people to kind of figure out different things about the world in a very kind of consensus-driven way, rather than kind of being told by top-down by some expert you may not know, you may not trust, right? And the reason it works so well is because, if there's a prediction market, or let's say the weather tomorrow in New York City, where I am right now is minus 10 degrees here, and you think it's too low or it's too high, you can go and actually trade on that and act as part of the consensus layer for what you think the weather's going to be. And you're completely financially incentivized to only act if you think it's wrong. And therefore, if you get all the people in the world who have some kind of an inkling, like they think they can make money on this, their consensus get kind of aggregated, which is exactly the same that happens in, stocks, or, you have this efficient markets hypothesis. Stock prices reflect the fair price of everyone's opinion on the stock, because if they didn't, and somebody thought that, the price was out of whack, they can go and trade and make money on it. And they're incentivized to do that because they're financially incentivized. Yeah, I think that's very cool. And it's coming to a broader sphere of life. And I think the other thing that's very cool is like people are actually using prediction markets to kind of cross-reference with like real financial markets, basically traditional financial markets, for certain events, right? So not for everything, not for like Taylor Swift's next song, like that doesn't really apply in like the financial world. But when I was back in my last firm, Tower Research, we had like a long discussion around, hey, next US presidential election, or I think like even during Brexit, they were looking at the odds on Betfair. We've had prediction markets obviously in the UK for a little while in the form of Betfair. It's basically a prediction market. It's basically the same thing as Polymarket.
Yeah.
Betfair had a very liquid market around Brexit Day, and traders were using that market basically to get back out the probability of Brexit happening, and then using that to trade other assets. But that's not happening everywhere right now. We're still very early in the prediction market world, but something like the US presidential election, the next time it happens, for sure it's going to be very liquid, and for sure it's going to have a knock-on effect on a lot of other assets. And if you look back at the spiel around, why prediction markets were created, Polymarket, Kalshi, and so on, a lot of it was to do with, hey, there are Wall Street traders, city traders out there who are betting not on like assets moving, but on specific events happening. And it's a more kind of atomic and neater way to bet on those things through a binary yes/no contract, which is what they're actually trying to express, than trying to guess their effect on underlying stocks and bonds and commodities, and then try and trade those.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see a shake-up of the structure of financial markets, Polymarket and Co are leading the charge on that.
The UI and the UX is so clean as well. Like it's so easy to engage with, and it's kind of similar to when I'm not sure if it was during our previous conversation, I remember when we spoke to David Phelps at Joker Race, I think it was, about like sort of in the way that in which like an onboarding mechanism for people who are non-native is usually just based around the UI, and how the UI, and then maybe some marketing cash behind it, right? Like how easy is it to onboard? Well, if it's like, and there was something like people didn't realize it, but they were trading futures contracts by pressing these buttons on like, the further away the box was from the line that was just trending, the higher the cash value of your bet would be, and essentially just saying like betting on volatility live. And the UI and the UX of the app that they were playing was really fun. And like you hit it and a lightning bolt shoots out of it, and then like this, but it was really just like kind of futures contracts that they were playing with. So I think it's an amazing. I think it's a great thing. I think it's an amazing thing, and it's quite interesting to hear. How it's impacting your world as well. Are you like playing on it as much as you were with crypto? Like are you like trying to make money on prediction markets as well? Or?
I've been playing around for sure. There's for me, it's the fact that I have like high frequency trading background, so there's just like a lot of inefficiency still in prediction markets. A lot of things that are mispriced across markets. A lot of arbitrage is available, and I think.
But would that not be a good? Would that not be like a good realm for you to take advantage of, though?
Yeah. If I wasn't working 80 hours a week on my current startup, it's probably.
So he told you locked in. He's not going to. I was going to say, what's the you spent your career literally like finding these market inefficiencies and profiting off them, and making a profit for the quant firm that you've been working for, really, and then personally. But how does it feel now, kind of building the infrastructure like itself? Does that feel? I mean, you mentioned that you love building you love being a founder. Like, how does it actually feel instead of just kind of being on the infrastructure? You're actually building it now.
Yeah, liberating. I would say I had a lot of criticisms of financial market infrastructure when I was at the firms, and now it feels, I kind of felt like a hypocrite when I was like going around, and we had lines open to all these exchanges, and I would just go and say, hey, your setup is is terrible. Like,
it's trash.
Here is how you should improve it, from a guy who actually does the trading. And some of these markets, I was doing like 30-40% of the volume, right? These are big markets. I was doing billions of dollars a day in volume, and I'm like, I'm paying you guys paychecks. Why is the user experience so bad for me? So it feels great that I'm no longer a hypocrite. I'm kind of building that market that, as markets should be, as kind of a practitioner of markets believes they should be. And I think all the best exchanges are built by guys with like deep industry experience, right? Like you look at, if you look at places like, FTX, right? Okay, they did a lot of bad things. I'm not gonna lie, but the exchange itself was really, really, really good. And it was built by a bunch of guys from Jane Street, right? Like people who had daily experience with trading on the markets, and that kind of makes sense. It's like one of these axioms of startups. Like you want to be your own biggest user. And certainly like the whole team here at QFX, I mean, our background, kind of previous firms, we just made another couple of hires now, but the previous firms people worked at now is Tower Research, Jane Street, Optiva, Jump Trading, Citadel, all the kind of tier one high frequency trading quant firms out there. We've all very experienced with transacting on different kinds of financial markets, crypto, non-crypto, prediction market. And yeah, we're all like super excited to build like the next gen, hopefully the final gen of prediction of financial markets out there, and equity purposes kind of feels like the final generation of design space that needs to be solved.
Yeah, that's so awesome. How do you go about hiring these people? Because they must be nuts, right? And it's a very different world, right? Like going from, a traditional sort of high frequency trading firm. I guess hours aren't that different in terms of how long you work, but the day to day probably is a little bit, right?
Yeah, hours are still high, man. Like, I mean, I'm working more now than I was at my last firm, for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of hiring, like, I think we have a very good network. So me and I think the reason, the reason VCs are so interested in the background of the founders is not necessarily because 2 years down the line the founders are all going to be doing the deep technical work. It's more that it's very hard to hire very strong, very technical people if you're not a very strong and very technical person yourself. I don't spend a lot of time writing code anymore, but I feel like, we get to hire people because I have a very strong background in all that stuff. And, so did my co-founder, right? Even though he's still a bit more involved with the day-to-day kind of product and software engineering side of things. So it's just like another sales job. You have to sell these guys on your company. And part of that is the background of the founders. We both went to Cambridge, me and my co-founder. We worked with some of the top quantitative hedge funds and trading firms in the city. And therefore we have credibility. And the guys that we hire want to work with us because they feel like the problem we're working on is one that's worth working on. Like it will be a huge industry. It's very nascent right now. And then once you kind of have belief in the industry and the fact that it's going to go somewhere, you then have to decide, okay, which team am I going to back? And you kind of look at all the teams out there. I think in terms of background, we're pretty much the strongest. We have a bunch of young, hungry, very smart guys who work very long hours. We're completely dedicated to customer experience, and we live it as well. We don't. It's not just spiel that we say in the interview. People join the first few weeks and they see what's expected of them, and it kind of motivates them even more because it's like a flywheel effect, right? Like you get equity in the company. When we join, we're generous with that, and you feel like, wow, everyone else is working so hard. Like, there's no way this equity is not going to be worth, tens of millions for me personally in the future. Yeah. And that's the kind of standard we set we strive to set for everyone.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I want to go back into the future of exchanges and where you see things going. I saw a few tweets a few weeks ago over the weeks about whether companies will go public on chain, whether anything will be done on chain. Is that where we're kind of moving towards, or I just wanted to get your take on where you see kind of the future of exchanges. You are building one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think depends what you call going public on chain. Like, do you kind of token launches going public on chain? Because a lot of crypto companies kind of offer their tokens as pseudo securities, right? There's just kind of a bit of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, so that legally they don't count as securities. I think the tokenization paradigm will continue to grow and evolve. I think it's not necessarily driven so much in the need to kind of, this regulatory arbitrage where, you kind of list a token, it's tied to the performance of your company vaguely. And, I think a lot of very successful companies out there, even non-crypto companies, can IPO and don't mind IPOing instead of doing like a token launch or an ICO. I think the two main factors are going to be one, that there isn't actually that much premium left in the IPO game anymore, right? Mm-hmm. So you see massive companies like Stripe, they're going to stay private forever probably, and the reason is they've, when you consider the equity valuation of a venture-backed company, right? It's like, the later your rounds go, the more of a premium your valuation commands on the amount of money that you're making, and then IPO, which is the final point, I guess. Is if you have a company which is doing X amount of revenue and it's kind of Series F versus IPO, the IPO valuation, the market cap will just be higher. Yeah. Now, historically, that's been the case. Nowadays, it's not really happening anymore. So we're seeing, your companies are going public and their market cap isn't really that much higher than their last valuation. You saw Figma obviously had a disastrous IPO. It's absolutely crashed, way off its peak now. Employees are probably pissed off. so that's one effect, and we're seeing companies like Stripe. They have like liquid secondary markets. Employees can kind of cash out. They don't really need to go public, and they don't need to have that regulatory overhead hanging over them of being a publicly traded company. I think that's probably the biggest driver, and I think the other thing is, you look at some of the most valuable companies in the world, right? Palantir, Nvidia, Tesla, and you look at kind of the multiples that they're trading at compared to their revenue. It's way off the charts, right? Like, Warren Buffett and these guys are like turning over, saying like, what the hell happened to all my investments? And part of that rise in their valuation is really driven like by the narrative and the mimetic effects of these companies, the law behind the founders, and the potential they have for being around in 50, 100 years, and like basically being pseudo government like entities. I mean, a lot of them already are now, right? Like Palantir is like has all these like big government defense contracts in the US. It's basically becoming an arm of the government, and I think if you want to kind of capture the full like market effects of that kind of mimetic, narrative driven valuation, then there's no better way to do it than tokens and token launches, because you're just a lot freer to capture a lot of those effects and reward your community with a lot of those effects without going through all the regulatory hassle of doing it through kind of regulated security offering and IPO. So I think my big prediction, I think very few people are talking about, is that we're going to see more non-crypto companies actually do something that looks like a token launch. Especially in the US, where a lot of these big companies are. The atmosphere out here is so different, right? Like I'm in New York City here. I can go out on the street, and I think the general feeling towards crypto and the general feeling towards blockchain technology has really shifted in the last year. We've seen the Genius Act, the Clarity Act signed into law in the US. There's mainstream, widespread acceptance of stablecoin and crypto technologies, at least here in the financial world. And as those kind of leak over into more kind of generic, less crypto adjacent industries, a lot of CEOs are going to go out there and say, hey, I think it sounds pretty good if we do a token launch. I think it sounds more democratized, sounds better access. And why don't we do a token launch instead of doing an IPO, right? Like, yes, our investors won't have some of those kind of legal securities that they have, or legal safeties that they have with securities, but the benefits are now too big to ignore.
Yeah,
we saw to kind of.
We saw Robinhood offer these like tokenized, like sort of private company share type. It was OpenAI and I think it was Andrew. I think maybe. I'm not sure who else, but it was only two. I saw that and I didn't really understand it. It was Andrew. Okay, cool. Was it? Because OpenAI came out and said, like, "Hey, we've not given the thumbs up here. This has nothing to do with us. Like, this isn't, this has nothing to do with us." Which for me is like, if I was to go and purchase that token, that would be something that I'd be like, that's a bit dodgy. Like, what am I actually buying here? Did you see that? Like, how do you have it? Like, I have no understanding of how that would work. Like, what was that?
Yeah. I think you picked open. I think Andrew was even more vocal about it. Like Andrew was really pissed off, and they issued a lot of public statements saying like, we don't sanction this at all. I think OpenAI is a little bit more circumspect, and they know that there are liquid, kind of semi-liquid secondary markets for sales of their shares. There are SPVs and so on. Look, I think when there's demand from the market, people will find a way, right? Like Robinhood's listing was basically a direct reaction to the proliferation of this like special purpose vehicle industry that's coming up in the US, where people are, people are so inclined to buy these private company stocks, and they know that they have no immediate plans for IPO, because it doesn't make sense for a company like OpenAI to IPO right now. That they just want to ape in no matter what, and people are coming up with innovative legal structures basically to allow them to get. Sorry.
There's just like SPVs of SPVs. This just like keeps going down the stack.
Yeah, so people are coming up with these innovative legal structures, right, to get exposure, and then market them out to resale at a premium. Obviously, it's not for free. It's not straight at the last valuation. They'll get 5-10% premium on top, and people are willing to pay. And what I really wish would happen is that this comes into more of a transparent structure where it's not some lucky few who kind of know about this and they know a broker who can kind of get them access, and then they might get wrecked because there was some clause in the transfer vehicle contract that wouldn't hold up in court or something, right? So I think it's important to recognize that the requirements for an IPO are so onerous on companies that they are people are finding other ways to get exposure to them. And whenever you start to find these black markets being formed, it's better just to be out and open. I wish OpenAI would launch a token, right? I wish Andrew would launch a token. They would have full control over the narrative, right? They would recognize the fact that there's demand for these things. Maybe the token would trade at a premium to the last valuation of their shares, but that's fine. That's market forces, right? That's a signal that the market expects their share price to go up, and people should be allowed to express that in a transparent, hopefully even regulated or semi-regulated way, rather than go out and find all these deals in the background.
Yeah, I just feel like you're more likely to get done in, I think, if you're in the SPV trenches, like just layers and layers and layers. I don't know, it doesn't seem that transparent.
I was speaking to a guy actually who basically does this almost full time, getting into SPVs on. And I think there's Hive is the kind of the most legit platform out of all these, where you can get access to these deals, but it's still very much like a phone driven belly to belly market. You need to know the right broker, you need to trust them. And like, you don't really know, these SPVs aren't really tested legally, right? Like, there hasn't been a big case where a court's been saying, because there are transfer restrictions on a lot of these stocks, right? Like, a lot of these companies say, hey, if one of our employees sells stock to these SPVs, we declare it null and void. So, how they do the legal engineering, that's not something I'm an expert on, to basically make it not null and void, but it's, if I was in this SPV game, I'd want a lot more secure. That's a reason I don't buy these things. Is like, I just don't have the faith that, I put 100, 200K into something like this, and it's not all going to go to zero.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Indeed. Dude, we're out of time. But thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for hanging out, dude.
Yeah, it's been good fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having me up early.
It was our absolute pleasure.
You guys. Some of the best questions I
it's
get.
Oh, really?
Mate,
that's good.
I appreciate that. It's an open seat for you anytime. So, you have our number. Whenever you're ready to come back on, we are here.
Indeed. Good luck with the launch as well.
Thank you, guys. Cheers for having me.
Cheers, dude. Go out. Ciao, ciao. Oh, always good fun.
Always good fun.
Next.
Just a quick word. Leave Outdated Business Banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business, multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one platform. They gave us a McLaren car. You can just easily go to airwallex.com. Yeah, here we go.
Trumpets for Airwallex.
Next on the show, we have Thijs Boukema. He is the head of data, tech, and AI at Dawn Capital.
Friends of the show.
Incredibly smart guy. I was doing research yesterday. Ex-Google. I can't remember what his title was, but he's basically doing everything data-wise, allowing Dawn to have data at their fingertips. VCs can understand what's going on with their portcos. Portco founders can understand what they need to do to be able to, grow their companies quicker. So huge value add, and something that I don't know how many VC firms actually have a head of data. Is that a thing?
Yeah, we had Tom on from Atomico who kind of sits. That was like intelligence.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Well,
his main job is to write the State of Europe report. Is that?
I think that's his main job.
Well,
that's like part of his job.
He spends a lot of time doing that, I think.
Yeah. That'll be part of his job.
No, it's going to be interesting to talk to him. But before that, should we jump into?
We do have a quick. Where is the?
We've got a few tweets about Davos.
Yeah, you have to put your Davos hat on though.
What's going on? Can we get the Lightspeed Davos house up?
Oh wait, I think are we? Oh, we might be going live actually. Sorry.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait,
we're live.
We can go live. Let's do it.
Hold on.
Yeah, we ready? Oh, hey.
We're just waiting for our producer to give us a thumbs up before we're good. Thijs is live on ETN.
Okay, you are on the show. Welcome, Thijs. Are we pronouncing that right?
It's tease. It rhymes with Patagonia fleece. That's the easiest way to explain it.
That's the most VC thing to say ever.
I will remember that for the rest of my life now, I think.
You're welcome.
Rhymes with Patagonia fleece. No, that's awesome. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Pleasure. Big fan.
We really appreciate it. We just gave you a small intro, but maybe it's best coming from you yourself. Maybe tell the viewers and the audience who you are, what do you do, and where do you work?
So I am head of, my name is Tees. Sorry. There. I'm not using live shows.
Do it again.
My name is Tees. I am head of data, tech, and AI at Dawn Capital, $2 billion European B2B software investor with 11 or 12, I think, unicorns that we backed so far. And I lead all things tech and the tech function internally. Before this, I spent 5.5 years at Google doing various data and ML roles there before coming over to private markets because just the opportunity is so big to build internally.
Yeah, awesome,
Insane.
Well, we were just saying we love Dawn Capital. Huh? They are good friends of ours. We've got the chessboard here. Which is a Dawn.
Do you recognize the chessboard?
I'm not sure if you've seen one.
They have them around the office.
I see, yeah, beautiful.
It's very small on the screen for you, but yeah, the Dawn logo is on there, which I'm not sure if people can see unless we do close-ups on Luke. But yeah, let's get into it. I'd love to ask you some questions. First of all, the role of head of data, tech, and AI at a venture company. What traditionally we've had we've had investors on the show. We had Tom at Atomico. His role was head of intelligence, I think. I'd love to know more about your role specifically. Right, what does that mean? What does that day to day look like?
Right. So look, VCs invest in the cutting edge of tech, and I think despite this, there's this sentiment in the industry that what VCs do is actually so difficult and so cottage industry that it doesn't really make sense to have engineers in-house. So there aren't that many firms that have real functions internally. And then I think the firms that have invested in this heavily typically focus on the data side. So the goal is to source better, similar to like if you're at a hedge fund, then you try to get a quant to try and find signals to basically figure out which 10 companies should I speak with, or which 10 companies ideally, not even should I speak with, should I just invest in from the beginning, which I am at our stage, which is sort of large C to Series C. I'm pretty skeptical about. I don't see what signals outside in would be anywhere near as good as where you get phenomenal relationships. So, we use data and AI to sort of narrow the haystack to figure out who are the couple of thousand of European companies that we should do outreach to, try to speak with, get some intel on and monitor. But all the big tip-offs also in Dawn 5 have come from our relationship intelligence tooling called Rolodex, which we built in-house. So it's always been who are the funds and the angel investors and the solo GPs that we should keep on our radar or build a relationship with that we don't have today, and be much more disciplined as a fund to really be like, these are all the people. And then also in some of the discussions, you're like, yeah, actually, I've met the person, but I didn't enjoy talking to them. I think we're now just more grown up as a firm to be like, doesn't matter if we love, it's not friends.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't realize it was that was like the main thing. So I read about Rolodex. I read Dawn released like a bio on you when they hired you, and I read the whole thing. It's absolutely massive, to be honest. But I didn't realize that was like the sole focus was like relationship intelligence. And I have a few questions. First of all, one, like how specifically can that help? Do the VCs go into meetings knowing exactly kind of obviously like who they are, but it mentioned like almost like a relationship map. Is it like a platform that they go into that you can kind of see who knows who? How do I kind of like best get information from this meeting or all that kind of stuff? How does it like tangibly kind of work, like relationship intelligence?
So it's three pillars. It's who should we know and stay close to, who are also rising stars at upcoming funds, so we can be much more, I think, meritocratic with who are the relationships that we build and nurture. The second piece is when we have either an event or an in-person meeting or calendar meeting, what intel is useful, and we have different ages for different things. Like if it's an LP meeting, you want different information. If it's a VC to VC chat, you kind of want to figure out what deal should I ask or prod about, right? To figure out what's the status, what's the latest. There's this new scandal, has this affected it, etc. And then for a founder meeting, you want to ideally make a good impression and make a better impression, which has, I think, two pieces. Understanding exactly all the people that we know that could either give us information that we can ask about that person, or even use that to build rapport with the founder, plus all the similar companies we've looked at, competitive landscape, how they're different, how the positioning is different. It even drafts questions now to help you have a better conversation, because it's a very human business, especially as a lead investor. And then finally, it's a tool. The third tool is something called Access, which helps us get to a person. So let's say we get excited about a founder. Even when we're already in contact with the founder, it's extremely valuable to understand all the different people that we know as a firm, because we've been investing in software for 19 years now, and just have all the information at our fingertips, like who needs to WhatsApp who, to ask for context, to ask for help on pricing, to help, even to understand, like if we would want to take the founder for a closing dinner to give a term sheet, what type of, what type of person is this? What type of event should we do? How should we approach the conversation? And also, can we get as many allies on board so that we win, even when we go head to head with the most competitive firms on the market?
That's so cool.
That's nuts. I've never heard of like venture firms doing it to that like level of depth. Could you like sell that? I mean, you probably wouldn't want to sell it because your competitors would buy it, but I don't know.
So, is that white? Yeah, it's white labeled.
Yeah.
Surely.
So like I think a couple of thoughts. It's hard if you work at a VC and you do a creative job, like building Rolodex, to not dream a little bit about the outcome. I also have some people that have worked with Google that have just made such a fortune that I'm like, God, why didn't I just join? It's stupid. I could have retired instead of slaving away with 6 Claude codes running. We think about it sometimes. It's been almost every deal now in Dawn 5, which is looking like potentially the best fund so far, has had a touch point through Rolodex. So either it's helped us before the founding meeting to get intel or to get extra allies, or to be like, actually, that's how we could get in touch with a board member to get the meeting in the first place. Or in the case of, say, Runware, Begin Capital and then Joel specifically were both flagged as people we didn't know, but we should know because they're actually valuable. And the intel tool then surfaced before my lunch with Joel, hey, you should talk about Runware because there's some signals that seem to be really exciting. And then he goes, yeah, actually revenue's like tripled in the last month. So then that helped us. Not that we didn't know the founder or that we didn't know of the company. It's we didn't know that it had just hit that inflection point. So then we could mobilize on all the other work and all the thesis work that Shamila had done to get there. So long story short, do I dream about it? Yes. Would it be a tough sell internally? I think so, because it's now useful. And it needs to be a big business, I think, for this to be, for us to justify giving it away, right? Like if we're going to give this to Index and General Catalyst and all the other competitors that we work with, it better be a big outcome for us because it's clearly part of the functioning of the firm today.
Yeah, it would have to like return the fund and future funds. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, like there's a bunch of tools in the market that try this, right? There's Bordy, there's a couple of these. I don't think anything works nearly well enough. Otherwise, my job would also be much simpler, and I'd be working on something else. We integrate even like WhatsApp people. Like we created something that makes it very easy for people to give their WhatsApp contacts to Rolodex. That we do clever sort of figure out LinkedIn paths, calendar meetings, and all the other, Tease has a WhatsApp relationship with Oliver, and Oliver did a angel check into this founder. Or we are extremely close with the board member and the former CTO of that company now is CTO of this new startup or co-founder. Like it'll surface all of this. And, my hairline would be better if we could just buy this off the shelf. So yeah, like, do I dream about it sometimes? Sure. But at the same time, it's hugely exciting to, I think, have sort of zigged where all the other data and tech people at VC funds, of which there are a few, have zagged. Like as far as I know, no one has gone as hard on the relationship side. It's all on trying to get the human sort of out of the loop, out of the decision-making process, out of the sourcing, just like, can we just robot it all? And I think it's such a deeply human business, and that the best intel comes from people, and that you still have to convince a human at the end of the day to actually, take, like for the most competitive deals, it's actually very hard to get a founder to give you, to pick us. There's people. So there's a real art. There's a real art to this, and I think we can elevate this with the science.
Yeah. Do you think it's the fact that you've built it in-house? Like if you if you were kind of like on your own building for every other VC firm, it just makes it 10 times harder. The fact that you have the internal, you have 19 years worth of investing knowledge to be able to build on and all of that kind of stuff. So that's what's made it so amazing and such a high return in the of investment in terms of software and all of that kind of stuff. That's probably why, right? Is that a fair assumption to make?
I had a very naive view about VC, despite reading all the books and working in tech before. I had a very naive view of how it really works, and I think I was also naive how good it needs to be for it to get real usage. Like a graph needs to actually have a ton of stuff internally. So we had to build our own GDPR compliance sort of WhatsApp contact thing and our own LinkedIn integration that syncs LinkedIn contact. And like, there's actually so much data you need to slurp in. Yeah. And then the use case, like it really took, I said I would build it in 3 months. It probably took 12 to 15 months before the tool was actually good. Thankfully, they didn't fire me in the meantime. We shipped a bunch of stuff, and like we do much more other things with AI, but this is where we've gone super deep, and 70% of engineering effort is spent on this. It took 12 months in-house, and I think Dawn as a culture has the risk appetite to schlep through with something that kind of sucked for a while, despite best efforts. So I think on the outside, I would have had a very bad time building this.
Yeah, where do you think I think Dawn is from this conversation is probably like one of the forefront in terms of like data, presumably. Like we haven't really talked to many people like you, like we mentioned at the beginning. Where do you see kind of VC going with AI and with everything kind of happening? Obviously, as you mentioned, and as we all know, it's like it is a very people business, but can we try and automate as many processes as possible and supercharge that kind of like relationship building and management? Where do you see it kind of going for the tier one global firms like the A16Zs, Sequoias, and everyone else in kind of Europe as well?
So a lot of the big funds already have people working on the data side, but again, that's largely on the sourcing. I think one thing that I find baffling coming into VC is they simultaneously are saying, look, the entire future of work is going to fundamentally change across all white collar work, right? Lawyers, patent lawyers, M&A, like accountant, all this stuff is totally going to change. And they're like, the GPs are stressing out. They're like, I've got this 23-year-old daughter and she's doing an accountancy degree, and like, is she going to be super unemployed forever now? Like, it's a real concern. And then at the same time, I think in terms of trying to be daring on internal operations and not just being like, hey, I don't know, I want to take a note taker, or go one step further and be like, I want to build something that pushes my granola notes automatically into Affinity, but really think, how can we fundamentally change how we have conversations, who we meet, how we run events, how we get to people. Just like think big, right? Yeah. Like all the founders that we back. And I just still haven't wrapped my head around why they're so conservative on this. Because even on the PE side, and I don't know how many PE people you know, but they tend to not be super tech forward, right? Yeah. Some CVC has like 45 people in-house, and they pay top dollar. Like they're not thinking, ooh, I want to do something with engineering, so I'll get this 22-year-old that just finished university and we'll like dip our toe in. I'm like, you still need to dip your toe in with AI? Is it not? Are you not convinced at this point that you should just get someone in-house that properly runs Claude Code and actually knows how to build things? I mean, I find it baffling how non-adventurous I think many of these funds are, and the opportunity is just so vast. Yeah, agree.
Yeah. I think it's like it's cool to hear from your side, because predominantly we always have founders, CEOs, whatever. It's always, we're understanding how AIs are there using it. I mean, now we don't even really, when you ask about a company, it's not like what. Like you don't ask, they don't say, it's an AI company. That's just now kind of default for probably like 85, 90% of the conversations we have. But it's cool to hear how it's like taking effect from like the inside, well, like the venture landscape. It's like a different take that we haven't heard. Something I wanted to ask is more like on you and like your background, right? You mentioned Google before. What were you doing at Google, and how come you made the switch over to venture? I assume it wasn't venture at Google, but.
So it wasn't venture at Google. So I did various things. I did ads. I did some work in Google Health. I did some contributions to the climate science team. And then my last job at Google was running a team that runs revenue reporting on like 30, 40, 50 billion dollars a year. And also the executive slides and the sales bonus setting and targets and all that. It was actually a very mellow job despite running that entire piece of the infrastructure with like 3 or 4 people. And oh my God, this is really exciting moment was when I went for dinner with a bunch of finance people in private credit, PE, VC. And like half of them had to either arrive late because they had to do something with quarterly reporting, and the other half had to leave early because they had to still, fix the ARR and check it with the board pack. And I'm just like, this is still happening? Like people are this is still how it's being done? You're still manually triple checking the number on slide 177. I'm like, you can automate this. And this is before ChatGPT, right? I'm like, you can automate this so hard. Like you guys should just hire some people internally.
Yeah.
So then I interviewed with a couple of firms, and then one of the reasons why I clicked with Dawn is because I think, well, explicitly they said, look, the challenge we always thought of bringing in an engineer is investors tend to be, in the nicest possible way, very opinionated, right? They're very high conviction people. And even if their hit rate for a phenomenal Series A investor is like, you really get it right 15% of the time, 30% of the time, something like this, right? Where you make real money. But they have 300% conviction all of the time. So there's fundamentally a mismatch there. And a lot of engineers tend to be a bit more timid, and even during the interview process, they're like, I don't think we're going to have that problem with you. Like, I think if you think that the idea you're supposed to work on is a bad one, you'll tell us. And you're on probation, so, good luck figuring it out. So I came into Dawn and got excited about private markets. I was like, there's even on the boring stuff, like quarterly reporting or handling LP questions, they just don't use tech, data, and AI widely at all. In the point where the slides auto-update and someone checks them once and then ta-da. So that was sort of the spearhead into VC. And then I thought I'd do data-driven sourcing for the rest, next couple of years and build data science models. And very quickly we got into Rolodex because there was this fintech deals in Nordics where we've been trying to get in front of the founder for a while. By the time the founder finally has, sort of a real meeting with us, and we're quite research heavy as a firm. So we have expert networks and we talk to people. So we have this whole reverse pitch and like this market analysis deck of where the founder should go. And the founder basically goes, this is really, really insightful. Thank you so much. But I took money from another firm like 2 weeks ago. So, good luck in the future. And then one of our founding general partners complains about this, Norman, at his board the next day. And 2 people on that board said, Norman, why don't you just ask? Because, we're both angel investors in the founder and we love him. And, we would love to give you an introduction. And Norman's like, goes to his deal team. He's like, why didn't you ask me 7 months ago when we first started getting excited about this? Because I didn't just have an access channel. I also had an intel channel, right? Like I could ask him, how's it going? Let me keep close. How should I approach the conversation with the founder? So we totally had a pass to play. And that's sort of the genesis of Rolodex, where I was like, we could have totally known this. And also for any board meeting that Norman has, there should just be a summary of like, hey, if you're going to be sitting next to George anyways, or if you're going to be sitting across from Anna anyways, this is what you should ping her about, right? And you should actually, it's so relevant what you would want to discuss with Anna that you have to be like, hey, Anna, I'm going to be in Oslo at a board. We haven't had dinner in a while. When we, get lunch or dinner or coffee before the board, like all that information you can actually know largely in private markets if you're on the inside, which is a really unfair advantage. But with AI, you can just leverage this so much better than you could otherwise.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That's so interesting.
Should we go on to the future and 2026? What are you like specifically working on now? I assume, you are still working on Rolodex and building that out. But what are the things that you're like looking forward to in 26 with what you're building at Dawn specifically?
I think there's an endless amount of stuff that you could do with Rolodex. I think people that haven't built software before sometimes feel like you build a piece of software and then you just sort of milk it, like it's sort of the PE thing. Like you build a thing and then you just try to invest as little as you can. It's just nonstop, especially when I think we now have 17 different, data feeds going into this thing. There's always something that is like, ooh, we set that up a bit janky or it's going to break. So there's lots of that. I think the big piece as a firm that I'm trying to drive in 2026 is today with Claude Code specifically, you can just ship some of these smaller features so quickly. And we're doing a lot of work also just to make sure that it's like what we do with AI is not just limited by the engineering team. So that talent actually builds their own stuff and comes to me with more than an MVP, right? Not just a ChatGPT or custom GPT, not just a lovable thing, but like teaching them sort of how to fish to a decent degree. If we can get that across everything, and I'm now doing a bunch of work even like with the EAs, like how we plan trips now, and someone goes to booking.com and has to do it and be like, which hotel does Josh like? And it just feels really, 1990s.
Yeah.
And because the users understand their context so well, it would be hugely exciting if actually users can come up with stuff. And we need to think about security and compliance and but if we can get everyone basically to become a builder at the firm, then obviously what we can do with AI, also compared to the rest of the market, is just really exciting.
Yeah, that is so exciting.
Such a nuts like comparative advantage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we talked to a lot of founders actually who they're saying that they're kind of like sitting next to their customers or literally living in the offices of their customers. Mm-hmm. How much of your work is kind of like, I guess, this forward deployed kind of thing where you're like genuinely sitting next to a partner or an associate or whatever, and you go, oh, like you shouldn't be doing that because this is something that you're spending way too much time on. How much are you doing that?
A ton. So I think this is also why, also for any VC firm that's like, let me hire someone. I think you need the lead of the tech organization. I think, unfortunately for me, because it rains in London pretty often and I still cycle, so I get wet a lot. But the person needs to be in office. And I think it's very important that, like, say for an investment partner, right? Their main responsibility is doing phenomenal deals, and then they have other responsibilities. My entire performance review, future at dawn, path to partner, reason I can pay the mortgage is because I don't just build stuff, but I get people to use it and it becomes useful. So I think you 100% need someone to understand the nuances of how things really happen. So when we create an agent that helps us prepare better for board packs, for board meetings, and helps say, hey, when you have an upcoming board, these are the people you should talk to you about those things. And also in terms of the board packs, we had a submission in our finance function, and that doesn't actually gel that well with the latest board submission. And also this board submission actually has inconsistencies with the previous board submission. All that. The only way we can get that to a point where it's good enough for the partners to use, who are extremely busy people, is me sitting down physically and also almost, cornering them and being like, I know you have already a 14-hour working day, but like, I just want to sit down for an hour to see how do you prep it now, and then come back to you with a proposal and then actually see how you would use the tool. Because there's a lot of devil in the details, and I think you 100% have to be as close as possible to the users. But that's also fun because users at Google is this very abstract thing, right? Because you have millions of users. Here, finance is like 7 people.
Yeah.
The investment team is 12 people. I'm like, I can sit, like practically on people's lap. I'm like, I can just I can fully look over your shoulder and see how you use this. And I can do this per user across the entire firm, which just allows people to, allows us to build so quickly.
Yeah,
dude, that's so interesting.
Awesome, isn't it? We've never had such a
wicked chat.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. I think we are slightly over time, which is what usually happens on the show. But
third guest, third time we've gone
third
over
over today. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah. I can't remember who introed us. Was it Tom actually at Atomico?
I think it may have been Tom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much to Tom as well for introing us. But yeah, man, if you've got any other anything else you want to say or you want to come on the show again, like feel free. We had a great time. Loved it.
Huge fans of Dawn as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. Sorry, I am massively over-caffeinated today.
Join the club.
European fashion.
If you guys have a spare hat, the blue ETN hat.
Yeah. Let's sort that out.
If you have one, would appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
We'll drop by Dawn and do a bit of a care package.
We'll get one over to you ASAP.
Yeah, we've only come once, so we'll have to.
Appreciate it.
We'll come again.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome stuff. Thanks for joining us, dude. Have a good one. Ciao. What a legend.
There were lots of great moments in that conversation, but my favorite was the first.
What an intro.
How do you pronounce your name?
I think that's
Tease, like, is it Tease?
Right. Yeah.
Tease like the Patagonia fleece.
I think it's the best intro we've ever had on the show.
That's so cool.
I think.
Sorry, I have to keep taking this off because it's so hot. I don't know how you're wearing it.
I've got a fleece on as well.
I know. I run
cardi,
I run hot, so
a cardigan.
The game is the game.
Yeah, hat back on. Back to, well, to be honest, we could do the Ryanair stuff.
Let's do the Ryanair stuff. Before we do that, Spectre, be the reason your fund wins the deal of the decade with Spectre. Go to tryspectre.com, harness the power of live data and AI-driven analysis to outsmart the competition and make confident decisions in private markets. Go to tryspectre.com. We love them. You can see the ticker in the bottom. We get all of our private market information from them. They are geniuses. Anyway,
sir.
Next on the show, we have Bar Winkler. He is the co-founder and CEO of Wonderful.
Yeah. 100 million Series A.
Yeah, massive.
Huge
Big
Series A.
deal.
You love to see it.
Anyway, should we jump into Ryanair versus Elon Musk?
Yeah, let's do it.
This is
so
hilarious.
I don't really need to share my screen for a lot of this.
Let's just talk about it. Let's just talk about
I just want to chat. So I've got some notes. I've got some notes here on what's going on. So for those who haven't seen, Ryanair CEO Michael O'Leary is currently in a spat with Elon Musk, and we've kind of we've kind of got here like the chronological flow of what happened, what went down, why it's happening, and kind of where we're at today, because this feud isn't over yet, I don't think. So earlier this month, kind of like around mid-January, there was a disagreement with Michael O'Leary and Elon Musk because Michael O'Leary publicly rejected Ryanair to put like Starlink on their aircraft. Ryanair traditionally has been known and very open about like their cost-cutting policies, and like I think they were famously
that is their thing.
That's their thing, and they own it, and that's cool, and no one's really that bothered about it. And we still
people on
sometimes
planes. They want no toilets on their planes.
Yeah. Standing seats.
That is their thing. Make the cheapest flights possible, and the market will buy.
And but that's like, it's not like let's not tell anyone we're going to do. It's like they are openly launching like marketing campaigns around it. That's the whole brand, right?
Yeah.
And they do a sick job on socials as well. Actually, whoever runs their social account is like very, very good.
Should be paid.
Paid a lot. But basically, yeah. So there was a bit of back and forth around Starlink being put onto Ryanair's fleets. Michael O'Leary rejected this. He claims the external antennas would cause a 2% fuel drag, which would cost the airline up to $250 million annually. And he argues that the passengers on short-haul flights won't pay even €1 for Wi-Fi, making the investment a waste of money. Kind of fair. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of blown away when I first started going to the States about how I could use Wi-Fi on planes, because it was just such a foreign concept in Europe. But that was mid-January. We're talking like 12th of January, something like that. This is now this January the 16th. We have what people are calling the idiot exchange. So during an interview with Ireland's News Talk, O'Leary calls Musk an idiot, adding, "He's very wealthy, but he's still an idiot." He also dismisses Musk's social media platform X as a cesspit, to which we do not approve. Musk then fired back on X, calling O'Leary an utter idiot and an imbecile. He claims that
it's like that meme. I think I saw a meme. It was like I can't remember what it was. Like the girls are fighting. Like, what are you doing? Like, come back. Stop fighting.
Hey, what? Like, you gotta come and focus on your business.
Yeah.
But he goes. This is, by the way, after, so Musk fired back and was like, "You're an utter idiot. You're an imbecile, and your maths is off, buddy." So when I first saw this, there was a notion around like O'Leary had said that what does he know about airlines? Like, what does he know about like the aerodynamics of an aircraft? I'm not sure if he knows that Musk is the founder of SpaceX, or he just sort of like purposefully overlooked it and decided to come for him anyway. He must know. I don't know maybe he doesn't. I don't know.
Anyway, that was a pretty silly thing to say.
But he's like literally the founder of SpaceX. He's like, I think he's personally responsible for the most volume of cargo put in space of all time, I think.
Yeah.
Like SpaceX.
No doubt.
Like put flights per like mission or whatever. So Musk fired back, called him O'Leary an utter idiot, an imbecile, claimed O'Leary's math on fuel drag is wrong by a factor of 10 and publicly demands that Ryanair board fire him. Such a cool way to clap back. Like, excuse me, bud, your math on that fuel drag is way off, like by a factor of 10.
Yeah,
like,
fire that guy.
Which is a cool.
Get that guy fired.
But he says, he's like, look, like this guy shouldn't be running an aeronautical business.
Yeah,
like, He's off by a factor of 10.
A public company that is an airline, a public airline.
Yeah. So then we've got so that was January 20. That was January 16th. Now we go on to January 19th, my birthday. Musk has then
Bit of trumpets.
Oh yeah, sorry, for my birthday.
Yeah.
Or for Musk. Yay.
Ronan's birthday, everyone. January the 19th. Put it in the
Also known-
diaries.
apparently the most depressing day of the most depressing day of the year, because it was Blue Monday. So yeah. But anyway, Musk then floats the idea of buying the airline to settle the score. He put up a poll on X asking his followers, this is so funny, should I buy Ryanair and put someone whose actual name is Ryan in charge? Which is a reference to the airline's late founder, Tony Ryan. And on this poll, over 76% of the millions who voted yes. Obviously, when one is voting on something like this, they're probably not thinking that it's actually going to happen. More for the memes, for the memeage, but as we all know, with Musk, it is the most entertaining outcome always wins. Anyway, we move on to now January 20th. We've got what's called the Great Idiot Sale. This is just shows, it's an example of how expertly well Ryanair and the marketing team have handled this whole thing. So Ryanair on January the 20th, they lean into the drama and they launch a flash sale of 100,000 seats for €16.99. €16.99.
You can read this out. It's on the press conference.
Yes, I can pull it up. And
so
they launched this thing.
In a second, by the way.
We'll wait till Bar comes into the waiting room. And the airline markets the promotion as the Great Idiot Sale, explicitly stating it is especially for Elon and any other idiots on X. So literally calling the customers idiots, right? Like, hey, all you idiots! Like, this is for you, all you idiots.
This tweet got 17.2 million views.
So yeah, this is from the official Ryanair account. Who, for people who know the Ryanair account, they are no stranger to mugging people publicly. But it reads the Ryanair CEO to address/undress Elon Musk Twitter tantrum at Dublin press conference. Which is nuts. We'll get to the rest after this. We have Bar coming into the waiting room.
I think he's in the waiting room. Can we just let Bar in? Bar, can you hear us? Yes, let's go. Amazing. We're just waiting for the thumbs up to tell us that you're live on ETN on X, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
So our lovely viewers and listeners can hear.
We're live. Bar, how's it going?
Going well. What about yourself?
Yeah. We are very good as usual. Thank you very much for joining us. It's probably worth giving a bit of an intro about yourself and about Wonderful and everything, all the wonderful things you're doing at the company.
Nice.
Yeah, I know. And then we'll go from there. We've got a bunch of questions.
Sure. So I'm Bar, based in Tel Aviv. Whenever I'm here, I'm traveling at least half the time. Before Wonderful, I was the founder and CEO of a company called Approve.com. It was an enterprise software play. Founded in 2019, sold it in 2021. Then I worked at the company that acquired us for 3.5 years. Then I left to start Wonderful. I think
awesome,
a year and a week ago.
Oh wow! Okay, it's only been a year.
A year and a few days.
Yeah, year and a couple of days. That's nuts. Well, huge congrats. I know it was earlier this year you raised, only a couple of months ago, really, like 2-3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, month and a half, you raised your Series A 100 million. Would love to know more about that raise, the process, like what happened with it, how did it come about? Were you always looking for 100 million? Was it preempted? What happened?
So it was preempted by Index that also led our seed round. The amount was not what I was planning on raising. I thought we don't need as much and as soon. I think both Index and the rest of our investors thought that might as well. If you're in a huge market that is growing super fast and They believe the team has the ambition and the capacity to build something really generational, then it doesn't make sense to wait. So that resulted in this raise. So it was very much a preemption. We were not planning to raise 3 months after raising our seed round.
That's what you love to hear. You loved getting preempted by Index for 100 million. Before we jump into, I have a few more questions. Before we jump into that, I'd love to ask like the founding story for this. Like, why this particular thing? Like, what was it that made you do this? What is the founding story of Wonderful?
Cool. The founding story is that in October 24, OpenAI released its real-time models to alpha, to paid developers. And that was really the first time that you could create voice agents that were both intelligent and had human latency. So Roy, my co-founder, and me started like playing with this new tech, and we were like, okay, let's see how good this thing is in Hebrew. And Hebrew is a very hard language, right? So it's hard for LLMs and it's hard in general. So we started building this voice agent in Hebrew. We spent a few weeks building it. There was some models we needed to build and fine tune. Then we met the second largest HMO in Israel and the largest ISP, and they both reacted very similarly. They were like, wow, that's the best one we've heard. Let's do a pilot. You're like, okay, how much are you spending a year on your contact center? And the answer was like hundreds of millions of dollars. Like Maccabi has over 1,000 people, and Bezeq, the largest telco, has over 2,000 people. And because you cannot outsource from Israel to India or Bangladesh or the Philippines, because no one speaks Hebrew in those countries, you have to hire humans in the country. It's super expensive. And then we're like, okay, that's like, seems like a pretty weird phenomenon. Like, why would a startup, not even founded, like why would two founders working out of their Gmail, working on a prototype for 2 weeks, be able to win a deal that is potentially worth tens of millions of dollars? Like, this capitalism is not supposed to work this way. So we started asking, okay, who else are you talking with? And they were like, well, Microsoft and Google and Amazon and Salesforce and Genesys. Like, wait, what? Like, are you telling me that this is much better than what they have? And the answer was yes. And then we started like, going down the rabbit hole of why this was the case, what other companies were building, what mistakes they've made throughout the process of developing their solutions. And we realized that there was like a real unique moment in time where by starting at the right time and over investing on those underserved languages, you can really create a product moat that is likely going to last more than just a few months. Then we decided to start Wonderful. And at first it was pretty much bootstrapped. Like both Roy and I are second-time founders, so we put some of our own money. We didn't want to raise money from VCs in the beginning not because we didn't think it was fundable, but because we weren't so convinced of why this, like, we're like, we must be missing something. There's no way that it's that easy to build a superior product in such a competitive space. Because like the perception for the outsider is like customer support for AI is like right under the spotlight. It's like the most trivial thing for you to do with AI. But still, in voice, in non-English languages, it was a challenge that no one else was really able to solve when we started. So that's in short the origin story. And then everything just escalated very quickly from there. And
so cool.
This entire last 12 and a half months have been one long meeting with some sleep in the middle.
That's such a good way to such a good way to put it.
That's kind of like, it reminds me of like what's that film, like War Dogs or something, when those guys like like that when you're in those massive conversations with these massive companies and you're like, wait, hold on,
and you shouldn't be winning the contracts, but then you actually are.
We're the
like,
best.
No way. Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a good movie when they when they drove this like van in Iraq with the and the general was like, how the hell did you get here? You guys are amazing.
yeah, it's like you drove through the valley of death, and they're like, oh, that's the valley of death. Like,
we made that.
Yeah,
no way.
That's so sick.
That's hilarious.
Again.
Yeah. We have to run it back. Okay, so now on to our viewers might not know, but we were initially meant to speak a couple of weeks back on the raise, right? And we couldn't make it happen on the day. We were saying that Bar, you had an opportunity to increase shareholder value, and whenever anyone has an opportunity to increase shareholder value, they have to prioritize that. But with that said, What have you been up to at Wonderful since we were meant to speak? That was in November. What's been going on since then to now?
I think in the last 2 months, we have opened 6 or 7 new sites. Like we now open about a site a week. A site for us is a country. So,
oh, okay.
This guy's just like on speed
I
run.
thought you
mode.
meant like a customer.
So what countries are you in now?
we are in, I think we have 20 open sites right now. Let me open the board. Luckily enough, we had a board in a few days from now, so I can.
You've got a list.
I've got a list, and I got a list by the week. Because
this is like to-do lists. It's just like world domination of the country.
To-do list. What country am I going to take? On a Monday morning, do you choose what country?
Rest of world domination. So we started in Israel, and then we opened Greece and Romania and Italy and the Adriatics and UAE and Colombia and Switzerland, the Netherlands and the Nordics and France. And since we're supposed to meet, we opened 10 new sites, out of which 5 are going to open formally in February. When we open a site, we essentially mean we hire leaders, like a GM and a CTO, and then they start hiring the core team, and they start engaging with customers. Yeah. But there's a reason why we operate with such urgency. Like we obviously, it's not an ideal speed, right? It's a tad faster than what you would want to do if you were able to. But we really believe that the first mover advantage is like cannot be overstated. The importance of it.
Yeah, definitely. I read something about Wonderful and the approach that you're taking to building the models, but then also deploying the models, and that's the key thing that you focus on is like the delivery of the model, or like the service, and the kind of the delta between a company that's going to win and might not win is the ability to actually solve a genuine problem within a company, and you take that very seriously, and like that's the thing that you go for. You focus very heavily on the customer. Talk us through like how do you prioritize that, but then also scale? Like you've hired 120 people, within months. You're scaling like to different places around the world every week. Like how do you make sure that you're sitting very closely to the customer? The customer, customer success is like the biggest thing for you guys, but then also you scale super fast. How does that work?
You have to obsess over the quality of the people that you hire and build a lot of processes and machines that ensure the quality of the people you hire is super high. That's what I spend most of my time on. Mm-hmm. That's what you have like 5 or 6 people in the company that are super, like AAA plus people, and that's all they do. And we have introduced the concept of guilds. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Actually, Spotify was the first one to introduce it. So professional. Cool. So like the concept is, how do you make sure that, let's take a step back for a second. So in a world where Wonderful has 40 sites around the world, and each site has 20 people, right? Just as an example, or 30 people. How do you make sure that the quality of a deployment strategist in Switzerland is as good as deployment strategist in Thailand? I mean, there's no org chart connection between them. And you also don't want them to feel accountable for the success of another site. Like you want them to be very independent and minded to their own success, because the entire thesis is around local delivery, right? You don't want someone in Switzerland to even care about what's going on in Thailand. So how do you create an alignment in the quality, right? And one of the solutions, and that's the one that we are implementing, is called guilds. So essentially, you have someone for every profession whose entire job is to make sure that the quality of this profession across the organization is high. And this means that this person is in charge of, let's say, the deployment strategy profession. So if you are the head of guild for deployment strategy, you need to sign off on everyone. So you need to interview every deployment strategist that is joining. You need to have the onboarding process for them, the training process for them. You need to have a cadence with all of them to make sure that you flag issues and improve the process. You need to flag to GMs or CTOs when they have someone who's not as good, right? That's your responsibility. So that's one thing that we're doing that is really helping us on the accountability to the talent quality. And I'm saying this because I really believe that that's like 90%. Like you can build a lot of process around how to better serve customers, but in reality, Wonderful is not a $20,000 inside sales SaaS. That here's the playbook on how to install it. Congrats, you're live. It's a very complex implementation process that you cannot really be playbooked, right? You need to have intelligent people that go to the customer's office, understand their stack, understand their internal politics, understand what they care about, know the product and its capabilities really, really well, understand what they can solve themselves versus what they need HQ for. Like you just need very smart, relentless people. So that's what I focus most of my effort on. So those 120 people that you mentioned, I guess that they're the result of like thousands of different interviews that we've had with people, and like we've already been very focused from the get-go on the type of profiles we need to hire, and this focus is just becoming more and more emphasized in the company. That is something that I think has been helping us a lot. Also, there is a lot of incentive on the go-to-market leadership in Wonderful, which is the GMs, to understand what's working for other sites, because ultimately enterprises are similar in the problems they solve for their consumers. Like a telco in Colombia is not that different from a telco in Turkey, right? They have similar use cases, similar challenges, similar headcount divisions. So, and the GMs also have an incentive to talk to each other because they learn from each other and they're able to take use cases faster. So I think that's something that's been working pretty well for us. But obviously, like you touched, like the point you touched now about like retaining the quality, and that's really what the discussion is about. Like how do you retain the quality is the most important thing for me as a CEO. Like I think me being great or not great at my job will be determined by how well I'm able to grow super fast while distilling a high quality bar across what's probably going to be 40 different sites by the end of Q2. That's what I'm aiming at. I think about it all the time.
Yeah,
40 sites.
That's really interesting because I remember I was reading recently A16Z have published this like the Palantirization of everything article. It's a super interesting read. I can't remember exactly who the author is. We'll have to find it and link it to the show afterwards. But
I think I got it from like 164 different people on WhatsApp, and they're all like,
because this reminds me of this. But in that article, it does, like a lot of people are trying to do it. A traditional SaaS business is like trying to pick up that model and like just deploy FDEs. And hope that like that works for them. But what happens is that they often just turn into like services companies because they're scaling at a 1-to-1 ratio, right? There is no leverage there. But what I think is the reason I bring up the article is because part of it says like what you're just mentioning right now is like how focused you have to be. Like the individuals that do these things, they are expert level AAA generalists as well. Like they're not also just like experts in their field, but also at a generalist level as well. Like they are wizards of everything. They're masters, right?
Being experts in their field is a slight disadvantage for those projects, right? For example, a company like Wonderful, we want at least one person who's an expert in telephony, like a super expert, but we don't want 10 of those. That's too much, right? I read the article. I obviously it was very good, and not every company can apply this motion successfully. I think in order to apply this motion successfully, you have to have at least 2 conditions apply. I think those conditions tend to overlap in the Venn diagram. One, the TAM you're playing in has to be enormous, right? So like the denominator has to be huge because you're obviously investing a lot on the front end, and that's mostly a consumption play, right? That you're playing, right? There's no, if you're playing in the game of like future labor replacement or human enhancement, whatever you want to call it, the TAM is huge, but it's you have to prove it. You cannot out of the door go to a bank and tell them, listen, I'm going to save you 50 people, so and 70% of a discount here, pay me $15 million. They're like, wait, for what? Like you need to prove it, but in order to prove it, you need to send them people. So it's like, how do you prevent this flywheel from becoming a service company? So one, the TAM has to be huge, so that the number that you're striving to has to be super, super high. You need to firmly believe that you are going to be able to generate enough value to extract millions and millions of high quality revenue from those enterprises. That's one. And two, I think what you're doing has to be of core importance to the enterprise, because that would ultimately drive them to want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Think about it for a second. Like building agents and managing agents is something that if you are a CIO of a large enterprise, you have two priorities. First priority is to get agents to start creating value, right? Because you want to save costs and improve service. But then the second it happens, you want to start bringing this knowledge in-house. You don't want a vendor like Wonderful to be a black box of knowledge on how to run your company. That's super, super risky, right? Like, imagine I was the one, and that's also why I'm pretty much against like charging for success-based outcomes. I think it's a short-term play. Long-term, like it creates a misalignment in incentives. Long-term, you want the enterprise to be incentivized to build the best agents they can and have this knowledge in-house. And this would actually create a situation where Wonderful doesn't have to send many, many people to their office continuously, right? We give them the knowledge and the platform to put this knowledge to work. And as soon as we have finished agentifying a use case, we move the knowledge to the enterprise and we move to the next project, right? Of course, we need to support them. And of course, it's going to be more expensive than the average SaaS implementation. But I firmly believe that the physics of the world are going to solve it for our specific industry. Obviously, I'm not objective, right? But I've always held this belief.
Yeah, that's fascinating. No, it sounds like, you know, the one of the additional things along that whole layer is like you can only do it with absolutely nuts talent. Like it takes a special type of individual in groups to be able to like expertly execute on that process. You mentioned agents, obviously pops up. You guys have like an enterprise agent platform. There's also a collaboration with Anthropic in the works, or it's completed. I'm not sure. There was talks of a video, but like, can you maybe give us a bit more about this? Like, what's going on your side with these two things?
So we have an agent builder that is world class, and we use Anthropic amongst other solutions and model providers in it to make it work. I think in that part, that's all I'm going to say at this point.
That's
okay.
That's hilarious.
Keep us on our toes. We like it.
Yeah, that's good. I wanted to ask again more specifically about the implementation gap that you've kind of written about before. In terms of other companies, how do you feel like? What are the kind of things that you do specifically day to day that ensure that the implementation gap isn't a thing that Wonderful has to like worry about, I guess, or that you exceed in?
You have to, again, it goes back to, you have to have amazing delivery talent. You have to be very long AI in your product to solve problems in like a scalable, future-proof way, which we do all the time. And I think you have to say no to a lot of different things. You have to say no to customers that you believe are too small to reach the scale that you need to reach to justify this delivery motion. You have to say no to opportunities in markets that appear super tempting, but you don't have people on the ground there. So those are things that happen to us on a daily basis.
And this is like, sorry, go on.
No, that's it.
So this is like linked as well to like the 90. I think it's been thrown around a lot. The 95% of AI pilots fail. Like, is this something that you guys like? Do you agree with that? Like, have you seen that? Have you looked at the data, or like, is this something that you're conscious of and think about a lot?
I don't know about 95, but I can tell you that a lot of the AI projects that we see in enterprises that were built by teams within the enterprise failed to reach production scale for many reasons. Sometimes the technology wasn't there, like it was just very hard to build. For example, going back to voice agents for customer support in non-English markets, that's just like a technological problem that like until 5 minutes ago was scientifically unsolved. So of course, if you started working on it in the middle of 2024, you would fail. Like, where in reality, it was just impossible to solve it. I think that delivering agents to production requires this very hard to achieve overlay between delivery and product. And the product wasn't there until very recently. I think the models weren't consumable by enterprises in a way that would result in like actual production scale success. And the delivery teams were mostly system integrators. And again, there are amazing people in system integrators, and they have a place for sure. And they're probably going to be the ones delivering most agentic solutions in a few years. But now this is like a problem that I think startups have to solve because it's too complex. Like you go into the enterprise, you need to solve issues that are like, you need to have a Slack channel with Anthropic or OpenAI or the AWS Transcribe team and ask them 5 questions a day, half of which the answer is, we're not sure, like try this. So it's novel, right? It's just too novel for it to be at a factory level, like that an SI can do it. So obviously a lot of those projects fail, but I think those statistics are like, they are explosive, but they're also missing the point. I think the enterprises that have been trying to build on AI and failed, quote unquote, are actually the first ones that are also going to succeed because they have built those muscles in-house and they've built this conviction. What I'm trying to say is that just because someone failed with an AI delivery of a delivery of an AI project doesn't make them short AI. Like they're not against the tech. They've probably learned a lot from what wasn't working, and they're going to be the first ones to succeed down the line. So I don't think it's that binary or that negative in a sense. Any new technology that is transformative is not going to work out of the box amazingly. I think the enterprises that have built AI teams and that have like tried to even bang their head against the wall until something worked are going to be like reaping the fruits of those attempts. So is it a failure? Well, maybe, but long term, I don't think it will be a failure. I hope this answers your question. That's how I think of those things.
No, absolutely. It's good context. Do you have more?
We're 5 minutes over.
We're 5 minutes over time, unfortunately. We've run over by 5 minutes. Sorry, Bob. We'll have to call it there. But thank you so much for jumping on. We really appreciate it.
So interesting.
It's an open seat for whenever you want to come back on as well.
Thanks for having me. Happy to come back again whenever you call me.
When you hit 40 sites, come back on.
Yeah, which I'm sure it'll be like next week.
Ready to go. 2.5 months.
Yeah.
I'll be back on.
Good stuff.
Cheers, dude. Have
Great
a good
to
one. Nice one. Cheers.
What a
that's so cool. That's so interesting because that article is the article's a really cool one. I forget who wrote it. Someone on the A16Z team. I was reading it on the tube on the way home on Tuesday, I think.
Was it on X?
Yeah,
I think I saw
I'm on
that.
the daily newsletter. I think something I saw it on email. But,
oh, right. Fair enough. Anyway, Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Stay informed and profit from your knowledge. Go to polymarket.com. Sorry, we had to get that in. Had to be done.
Had to be. It felt
You're
like
just
a
like,
good time to do it as
where's
well.
this, the article? Like, just don't know where that article is.
This guy. Anyway, I am pumped to get up the penguin
Lock-in
video.
penguin time.
Lock-in penguin time. It is absolutely lock-in penguin time, and I've been waiting all day to play this.
Quick, we
on
only
the
have
stream.
2 minutes.
Okay, wait, how long have we got? Oh, we got 3 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's lock-in penguin time.
Are we
Wait,
ready?
should I change? I'm checking with our producer if we can fully show. Should I change to the? Yeah. Oh, you've done it. Okay, cool.
Are we good?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just gonna scroll up a little bit, and then that should be fine.
But one of them caught our eye, the one in the center.
I was sent this by so many people.
Yeah.
Of the ice, nor return to the colony. Shortly afterwards, we saw him heading straight towards the mountains, some 70 kilometers away. Dr. Ainley explained that even if he caught him and brought him back to the colony, he would immediately head right back for the mountains. But why?
So good. So
It's probably the best edit
good.
I've ever seen.
It's the best digital thing I've ever laid my eyes on in the world. I'm just gonna come out.
The person who wrote the tweet says, "He who jumps into the void owes no explanation to those who stand and watch."
Yeah, it's such a
Oh,
banger.
what a banger!
It's a banger.
Insane. What a video. We love it. I've watched that so many times, but it always gives me goosebumps.
The lock-in penguin. Well, we should have made that our sort of checking in. So the lock-in penguin, I mean, I've actually changed it to my screensaver just to remind me to lock in. As you can see here.
Yeah, nice.
Getting loads of...
Are you trying to show the stream?
No. This is embargoed news.
Well, why you show the stream? Airwallex, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Multi-currency accounts, corporate cards, expense management, online payments, all in one place. They gave us a McLaren F1 car.
Go to airwallex.com.
All you can do is go to airwallex.com. Next on the show, we have Jeff Morris Jr., JMJ, as he is known on X. He is the founder and general partner of Chapter One. We know, is she now she's now
Jameson
Seidel is now a
partner at Chapter One.
Now a partner.
And an amazing poker player as well, Jameson.
Yeah.
She's an incredible poker
grew up
player.
playing poker.
Yeah. I've still not been to one of their home games.
No, we got invited. Got invited, I think, once. But we'll have to make that happen. Yeah. Anyway, I believe we have Jeff in the. Can you hear us, Jeff? Yeah, really good. We're just waiting for our producer to give us a thumbs up that you're live on ETN.
We can hear you and see you, but I'm not sure if our viewers and listeners at home can.
Probably put my Davos hat on.
Your Davos hat. Yeah, sorry. These are our Davos hats. We couldn't be there in person. So we're live. We are live on the show. Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. We've been pumped about this.
It is hot, bright and early in Los Angeles, California. Let me tell you.
It's not like 5:30, is it? Is it 5:30?
Oh yeah.
So
but I saw you liked one of my tweets like 2 hours ago.
Man, I was just pumped up, Just
warming up for the pod. That's cool. Yeah, we've started to have a few guests from SF come on, and I must say, a few people have come on and they've kind of been like one eye's closed and they've kind of crawled out of bed. But we appreciate you taking not the graveyard shift. What's the opposite of the graveyard shift? It's like
I don't know.
Is there an opposite?
Or? Yeah, whatever it is.
Whatever the opposite of that is.
Yeah. Anyway, it's probably worth an introduction to our audience. We know who you are, but yes, if you give an introduction about who you are, what you do, and we can go from there. I've got a lot of questions.
So Jeff Morris, run Chapter One Ventures. I think Jameson was on the show.
Yeah.
So maybe your longtime viewers might have context, but we I've been a firm for 6 years. Before that, I was the VP of product and employee 50 at Tinder. And so I ran revenue and growth there for about 5 years through the hyper growth years, becoming a public company. And we were the top grossing app in the world for a bunch of years too. So and I grew up in the Bay Area. So I have a little bit of Bay Area blood in me and now live in Los Angeles.
Amazing stuff. Well, yes, as we say, thank you very much for coming on. I think the first thing I want to touch on is you wrote a tweet, and it started with I'm 15 years into my career in tech, and I've realized that the people I started with who are doing best and the one thing was they got a win early. And I wanted to ask, how do you define a win? What is what's the thing that I guess you give advice on to someone who is starting their career? They're maybe 20, 22, 24, whatever. What's the advice that you want to, I guess, give to people who want to try and get that win early and get that kind of foot in the door?
Yeah, so I was asked in the comments, and the really simple definition was being a key member of a really important company that people respect. And so, the inspiration was really, I think I have enough data points now, being 15 years into my career, to say hey, winning early in your career matters a lot. And so it's you guys might watch sports, but it's those players who come into the league and get on a great team. And imagine if you were drafted by the Patriots in the Tom Brady heyday, right? I don't know if my references will make sense to your European viewers. But,
I think they will. I think they'll get them.
But no, and then, I think there's a basic aptitude and level of intelligence that my 200 most talented friends all have, but the outcomes have been pretty divergent, and a lot of that's due to really early success. So if you joined Uber in 2010, or if you picked Airbnb in 2012. And so a lot of the art of this is you have to be like the talent manager of your own career. And that's hard because I know I'm a VC and I get like, 30, 40 shots on goal every fund, and I'm wrong 90% of the time, right? And so imagine you're 22 years old and you're trying to pick the next, generational company, and you have one shot every couple of years. And so that was the spirit of the tweet, but it's a tough thing to do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that something that we discuss a lot on the show, and something that the reason that we sit in this space, and why I've worked in tech my whole career, which is only 3.5, 4 years to be fair, but is the fact that it's a realm in which incredibly young people can spend 10 years of their life, or 10 years of the start of their career, just kind of taking swings. And like you mentioned it here in the tweet, like use your 20s and 30s to chase a big win. Does it have to be a company first, do you think, or can you kind of come in and start your own company?
You can start your own company. I think the key is if you get that right, like you're in a really amazing spot. But if you get that wrong and you realize a couple years in, say your company shuts down, like what's your next move? Are you going to be a serial entrepreneur and just keep doing that over and over? Or what I recommend in those situations is going and kind of like go into a well-known established company and kind of spending a few years creating more of a foundation for what's to come. So you can fall back on, say you started a company in 2015 and it just didn't go well. The next best move would probably be going to like a Stripe or something similar. And then you come out of there and maybe you start another company in a couple of years. I think where I've seen some of my friends kind of have a tough time is they're on like their fourth or fifth company and they're in their late 30s, early 40s, and just don't have that like defining win to their career. So yeah, I actually think there's so many parallels between our industry and Hollywood and entertainment. And I sit here in Los Angeles and I see this, it's like the director, screenwriter who had a hit movie when they were 24, and then just the path that takes them on. It's not a guarantee that you'll repeat it, right? You're only like the old Sequoia like trope is that you're only as good as your next investment. And I think that can be true too. In venture capital, like I'm only as good as my next fund or my last fund, because nobody cares what I did in 2019 anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
other
awesome.
Other than us, yeah.
You also wrote. I mean, you've been putting bangers out actually very, very recently, which I've very much enjoyed. You said we don't talk about this enough, but tech is a grind. I've watched so many talented people burn out. How do you see that? We were just talking about kind of like getting your first win, trying to find that, but then also the fact that it's a grind. What is the, what's the kind of, one thing that you would say every time you wake up out of bed and you're like, right, what's the goal here?
Yeah, that was more, I think the 996 culture, which is so popular in Silicon Valley today. Like I've worked 996 and I can tell you that if I did that for my entire career, I would literally be like not functional. I wouldn't be here today. And so I think that has limits. And so I kind of think I've heard of this concept of like your career having seasons, right? And so you have, some moments in your career where you will be grinding that hard. But the key is to take care of yourself and make sure like physically and mentally that you can, almost like athletes, I think you have to be able to come back to work and be in top form. And that's very hard to do if you're not taking care of yourself. And so that was more, there's all these like folks who moved to San Francisco and they're so fired up and you feel that energy right now. And then maybe in like 4 or 5 years, you'll look back on kind of where they are. And I think, again, back to the first concept, if you want to have a long career, I think one of the key things is just staying in the game for a very long time. And to do that, you need to take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like maybe more now as well. Like the 996 stuff is pretty rampant in London. Has been for like maybe a year, and more so like a year and a half. Really, it's been like the headlines a lot more. But like especially in the tech ecosystem, in the tech bubble, we're also kind of seeing this like intersection between like health maxing, right? Like it's also cool to get 8 hours of sleep. It's also cool to like watch what you're putting in your body, right? So it's weird that we have this like conjunction of yes, 996 grind, outwork everybody who was at the latest last night, but also, hey, watch your carbs as well. Like, make sure you get 8 hours.
What's your Whoop score?
Yeah, what's the sleep score looking like, type of thing. Like, is that? Yeah, are you seeing that in like LA or in SF still? Is like because maybe the pendulum's kind of swinging a little bit away now from the health maxing. It's kind of like life maxing is more of an appealing thing.
Yeah, I think that I saw this funny concept where people were competing. It was like competitive sleeping. So they were comparing
I think that's a great
They were getting these groups of pods within their company, and it was like literally taking your 8 sleep score and having it be like a real competition. I think that reality is like if you're post-economic or you have a big win to your career, you have more flexibility to health max, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my like older friends who are CEOs or kind of at like the middle or later stages of their career, like all they spend money on now today. And I wrote an article about this saying like longevity's the new luxury symbol.
I was going to mention it.
But it's like you're comparing your hyperbaric chamber models, or you get in debates about which infrared sauna or sauna you have, and if infrared's the correct sauna, or if you want your sauna to be hotter than infrared can offer. Like it's like these weird debates that sound ridiculous if you just get outside of tech, but I think it's like health is one of those things that has no ceiling on what you can spend, and so the old luxury status was buying or leasing like a luxury car, and now it's how much money can you spend on your health.
That's a good take. Yeah, it's like because we spoke about that the other day. I think who did we have on from? I forget who it was. Maybe the Spore Bio guys or not,
or maybe Lucis.
Oh, Lucis. Oh yeah, sorry, Lucis. Yeah. Well, I've got my checkup tomorrow morning, so this is like a blood. I mean, you've had yours actually.
Yeah, so we had a company called Lucis, YC backed. I think they're the first European company to be like a health monitoring company or whatever. And so we had we've got like health checkups, and they're doing blood work and like kind of just like biometric stuff as well, and all of that kind of stuff. And that is a thing now. I've told my mates, and they're like, oh yeah, like I had one like last week.
Yeah, my
it's
mates
like quite
are
a normal thing to have now. So yeah, I completely agree. I was going to mention your longevity thing, and it's an interesting like paradigm, and it also ties into you've talked also about like the fact that non-consensus is dead, and the consensus right now is health maxing. What's your take on where things are kind of going, and like where you want to, where you guys at Chapter One want to like put your time and focus your time into, finding that non-consensus, which ultimately is like not the kind of meta anymore in venture. What's the take, and where's the focus?
Yeah, I think the spirit of the statement was that there's like perfect information in tech in Silicon Valley, and so to be contrarian would be almost impossible. Like, sure, there are themes that come in and out of favor it seems like every quarter there's like a new flavor of what's popular in venture, but there's no real like surprises, right? There's almost like perfect top of the funnel information, and so that was the statement. I think it's harder than ever to be contrarian, because the one, like there's probably like 10 funds that really control the growth stages of our industry, and thematically today I guess like the trends are just so much clearer than they were a couple of years ago. And so if you look at obviously like AI, hard tech, deep tech, if you were to try and come out with like a contrarian take on those concepts, it would be, it'd be incredibly hard. And so I think there was a reaction to that because there's a feeling in venture capital now that we've lost some of like the contrarian spirit. And I think that was kind of the core concept. Where we're spending time is we still spend a ton of time in like broadly financial services, which talk about a category that's gone in and out of favor. Like fintech could not have been more cold 2 years ago. And, in the US, there's like obviously new regulations and a more kind of like pro-tech stance from the president on what's possible from a building perspective. But I just think there's so much more room to grow there. And so that includes things like fintech, crypto, new asset classes that are now investable for kind of the general public. And then I've spent my career building software. And so I think the most obvious place that I spend time thinking about, which again is not contrarian, is the future of engineering and how we go from, PRD, so writing a product spec, to deploying software. And that compression is really interesting to me right now.
That's interesting.
That's awesome. That's awesome stuff. We had another question that we'd love to. I know we're coming up on time, which is I always wish we do these things for longer because they're kind of quick fire. But previous like history, you've been the VP of products and revenue at Tinder. I would love to understand, like, specifically working on monetization, right, across like subscription within the app. Would love to hear like how are companies acting different? That's a consumer app, right? And I imagine that the consumer landscape back then is a lot different to how it is now, right? The meta seems to be, here's a high production launch video. We're going to launch it on X. We're going to direct all the traffic back to a wait list, and then we're going to like X, Y, Z, whatever happens after that. But Tinder was a whole different sort of world ago. What are those consumer worlds like now? Like, does it look vastly different to how it was back then?
Yeah, I think on the consumer, call it like lifestyle, social side, the categories have remained pretty similar. Like you've seen, you haven't seen a ton of disruption amongst the big players. What's really interesting is on the AI side, so anything around productivity, engineering tools, creative tools, there's just like this extreme willingness to pay on the consumer side and you're seeing this in the revenue numbers of basically every consumer AI company, where you have just like infinite demand for new tools and services because the gains that AI is offering are just so obvious to the consumer. And so I think the game has changed a lot though. Now it's a lot of, as you mentioned, it's really like there's no real secrets in distribution anymore. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of it's just how much noise you can make when you bring a product to market. And then a lot of what we think about is just like how shareable is your product from the first session, because a lot of the best mechanics we're seeing now come from just short form video, things like you guys are doing, clips. And so is that inherent to what your product does on starting with the first session? And so, but yeah, I think monetization used to be almost like a dirty word in tech, where you'd have like, investors telling you don't worry about monetization, like grow. And now, because model costs are obviously expensive for startups, and compute's expensive, founders are pulling forward their monetization roadmaps. And it's, I think really, I think if you're a founder, like that's really exciting because you can get to a point where you're at, $5-10 million in revenue pretty quickly now.
Yeah. And is that something that you look as for, being an investor, are you looking for those founders who understand that and are saying, I don't need to go and raise, at least 2 or 3 rounds before I'm making any revenue or even any profit or anything. It's like, you're looking for those founders that want to kind of generate that cash within a round or two, or are you looking for those kind of like, I guess you're a VC, right? You're looking for the generational companies. But what does that look like? What does that look like then in that respect when the model and the costs for that are so high, and therefore you kind of need to maybe raise 2, 3, 4 rounds of funding? What do you see as an investor there?
Yeah, I think it's always really attractive to have revenue to look at. The challenge is most of the companies we see are showing less than 1 year of revenue. And so you don't have a lot of cohorts to look at in terms of seeing what retention will look like on that on those early subscribers. And so the revenue can be really misleading, I think, is the answer. And what a lot of, I think, excitement around revenue is, obviously it's exciting, but then you have to, step back and see like, how durable is this revenue? What's the quality of the revenue? And, I think if you're a founder and you have like a year of cohort data to look at, that's great. If not, you can't just go into a pitch and say, hey, we're at $2 or $3 million and think that every VC is going to get, immediately excited. Because I think we've like now rewired our brains to dig in a bit deeper, which has always been the case for what we've been doing. But I think there was a period of time where people were just so excited about top line revenue.
It's weird that I saw like a chart, I think it was maybe yesterday or the day before, of Duolingo's stock price like acting essentially like inversely proportional to their revenue figures, right? Like their revenue is just mooning, but their stock price is just absolutely tanking, which is weird. Like what I couldn't understand as to like, is that just like AI fears of replacement? Like it's no longer a durable product, or?
Yeah, I think there is a huge belief that things like language and translation and all forms of learning will be disrupted by AI. And so I'd imagine Duolingo's being punished in the public markets for that very reason. I haven't looked at their like recent earnings call, so I don't know the exact specifics, but across the board, that's what's happening. If you look at almost every software company, whether it's consumer or B2B that relies on subscriptions, there's a discounting that's happening in the public markets for the most part.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, there was a piece by, we saw it in the FT today by the Thoma Bravo founder. I can't remember, saying that like, this is good, it's at a discount, but then Chamath put something out that was like, this is bad. Like, it's not bad, but like, this is just a natural evolution step. It's kind of funny that like the founder of a PE company is like, this is a great day because we can go buy all that stuff up.
I saw that too. I think there's truth to both opinions. The one thing I know is that most humans are relatively lazy and don't want to build their own software. And so there will be software providers, of course. And then the other piece is, I think, we are moving towards more of a agentic world, obviously, but people do still like to be entertained. And part of entertainment is a UI and a product experience that people will pay for. So it just depends on what category you're in. But I think Chamath has overstated the reality, and then Thomas Bravo, like the P version of this, is very different from how VCs view the world too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
two interesting takes. But we've run over. Thank you so much for waking up for us. For coming on the show. We really appreciate it, and super fascinating chat. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool, guys. Have a good day.
Good stuff.
Cheers,
you
dude.
too.
Thank
Great
you
to meet you.
Ciao.
Nice one. That is the show over. But before we finish, leave outdated business banking behind with Airwallex, the all-in-one financial platform built for the pace of modern business. Go to airwallex.com. Thank you very much for joining us. We very much enjoyed it. Great show. We will see you next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. Ciao.
Ciao.